bigger Congress exit than this?
आपने इतना समय दो दिया अपने बारे में।
Ghulam dumps grand old party. Ghulam goes nuclear against Rahul. Five-page letter bashes and bruises Gandhis. Ghulam's clear words. Rahul has ruined Congress.
Hello and welcome to our special focus this Friday. For years, one face has dominated or been all over the Congress party in a way. The face of Ghulam Nabi Azad. He's been a permanent fixture for decades, a Gandhi family loyalist. Today, Ghulam Nabi Azad quit the grand old party. While the resignation itself may not be surprising, while the fact is Mr. Azad has a limited political base, the tenor of his resignation letter has sent shockwaves. Because the former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, leader of the party in the Rajya Sabha and Union Minister, has gone out all guns blazing, firing away at Rahul Gandhi in particular, calling him a non-serious leader. Azad has accused Rahul Gandhi of running the party in consultation with a coterie of sycophants, including his security guards and his PAs. He even targeted Sonia Gandhi in a way by claiming that under her leadership, the party had lost successive elections. Predictably, Mr. Azad's resignation and quitting the party has led to several questions over the future of the Congress. What direction is it taking? Is this simply a break between the old guard and the new? Or is this an existential crisis for a party which has been out of power over the last decade and has seen several leaders leave it? Today, this evening, we will focus on the state of the Congress with those who've tracked it for years. But first, take a look at Azad either saying he's no longer a Ghulam or he's been modified. Take a look.
Former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, a prominent member of the G23 rebel group, one of the tallest veterans of the Grand Old Party, Ghulam Nabi Azad has worked with 3 generations of the Gandhi family. On Friday, Azad dumped the Congress, dropping a 5-page resignation bombshell on party president Sonia Gandhi. He resigned from all posts, including primary membership of the Congress. Training his big guns on the party leadership, Azad attacked Rahul Gandhi personally, citing the sidelining of senior leaders and the increasing sway of his chamchas and coteries of inexperienced sycophants as the reason behind his exit. Ghulam Nabi Azad lashed out at Rahul Gandhi, blaming his immaturity for the Congress's dwindling political clout and poor performance in election after election. The angry leader tore into Rahul Gandhi, claiming that all key decisions in the party were being taken by his security guards and personal assistants. Attacking Sonia Gandhi, he claimed that her remote control model had destroyed the UPA and now the Congress. Speaking exclusively to India Today first, Ghulam Nabi Azad claimed that he will start his own political outfit and rubbished claims that he was about to join the BJP.
देखो जम्मू कश्मीर में तो मेरा यूनिट बनेगा, दैट इज निश्चित। बाकी नेशनल लेवल पे देखेंगे।
बीजेपी में जाने की बात हो रही है, तो वो क्या सही है या गलत है?
वो तो हमारे एडवर्सरीज 3 साल से बता रहे हैं। हमारे एडवर्सरीज ने तो हमको प्रेसिडेंट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट भी बना दिया था।
The Congress claims Azad's resignation was unfortunate and that it came at a time when the party was fighting the BJP against crucial issues with the Bharat Jodo Yatra. In his letter, Azad said what was really needed was a Congress Jodo Yatra instead.
It is most unfortunate and most regrettable that this has happened. The entire Congress party organization across the country is engaged in confronting, combating, fighting the BJP.
Ghulam Nabi Azad is the 7th big leader to quit the Congress party this year alone. His exit, while sudden, was not entirely unexpected.
The fact that a youngster like me complained about the sycophant Darbari culture, and now a senior seasoned leader who has given his blood and sweat to the party is speaking about it becoming a club of PAs and security guards shows that leaders across age groups are disappointed, frustrated by this entire coterie culture which is thriving in the Indian National Congress.
The big exit from the Congress come at a time when uncertainty and suspense looms over who will lead the party heading into another cycle of elections. With Mosmi Singh and Supriya Bharadwaj in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise the big questions then. Has Ghulam Nabi Azad betrayed Congress and the Gandhis or simply shown them the mirror? Is Rahul Gandhi's leadership style the dividing factor that is splitting the Congress wide open? Is it time for the Congress old guard now to give way to the new? Is the Congress at the moment a sinking ship without a captain at the helm? My first guests are Pawan Khera, the Congress's chief spokesperson. I'll also be joined in a moment by Prithviraj Chavan, former Maharashtra Chief Minister, who's also a member of the G23, which is the group that Prithviraj Chavan was part of, and so was Ghulam Nabi Azad. But to you, Pawan Khera first. This, in the 30-odd years that I've covered the Congress, is perhaps the most damaging letter that any senior leader of the party has written against your party, and this is an insider. The charges of sycophancy have been made in the past by others of a coterie or bad decision making, but this is an ultimate insider, Pawan Khera, who's made it. How do you respond?
Rajdeep, the letter is damaging, but it damages the author of the letter more, his credibility. The party which, in his own admission, by his own admission in the first 1 or 1.5 pages of his letter, the party which gave him almost every single post available, whether it was a constitutional post or whether it was an organizational post. And on the second page, he says, I did it all selflessly. So if you enjoy the fruits of all your posts, then you say, I did it selflessly. I think it doesn't befit a leader of his stature to be writing a letter as unmindful of what really this letter does to his own credibility.
But would I be right, Pawan Khera, in saying that while the letter is unusually harsh, there are elements of it which have been echoed at various times by different people, the style of leadership, the allegations of a coterie, of sycophancy at all levels in the Congress, no accountability, and in particular questions over Rahul Gandhi's leadership, and in this instance Sonia Gandhi by Ghulam Nabi Azad. Many have whispered these in private. Mr. Azad has gone publicly and been harsh, but some others would say pretty fair.
Rajdeep, whatever culture he's talking about of the Congress party, well, he was the architect of that culture. So what we see today in the Congress party, we inherit from leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad. What is he complaining about today? So when he is in the driver's seat or he is in the position to decide, he is the core group. But if somebody else were to decide, that somebody else is a sycophant. Just because you are not getting a Rajya Sabha again, or you are for the first time in your 40 years, you find yourself without a position. Suddenly you find all that is wrong with the Congress party. It comes rushing to your mind. If you were so convinced about things going wrong in 2013, why didn't you open your mouth then? Why today? Because in 2013, you were a minister. You were an important minister of the Dr. Manmohan Singh government because you had hope of getting more positions. Today, when you have no hope of getting any position, you find that Rahul Gandhi's conduct was wrong in 2012. For God's sake, what were you doing all these 10 years, 9 years? Why didn't you open your mouth then? So it shows, it actually exposes Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad more than anything else.
You're saying it exposes Ghulam Nabi Azad more than anyone else, but does it at all call for introspection when someone who, as I repeat, is the ultimate insider, who spent his life from Rajiv Gandhi to Sonia Gandhi. In fact, way back, you can even go to Indira Gandhi's year, 1980. The fact is, someone like that speaking out in the manner that he is it simply his own personal frustration, or do you accept that at some level, he is raising concerns that your party needs to address, particularly over the style of leadership?
Rajdeep, his own fellow Congress leaders, who media euphemistically calls as G23, Sandeep Dixit, look at his response to Ghulam Nabi Azad. They are shocked. They feel betrayed. They thought that Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was raising a banner of reform, not revolt. But it turns out that Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was essentially trying to lobby for another term of Rajya Sabha, and which he didn't get. Here we are. Now, I know of some leaders, I won't name them, who left the Congress party primarily to get back a bungalow which was withdrawn from them because they'd lost the election. So if this is the kind of commitment you have to an ideology which gets swayed because of a bungalow in Lutyens, Delhi, well,
you're making an allegation. I know who you're referring to. You want to name the person that you claim left your party only for a bungalow?
Well, listen, Rajdeep, I come from a small town. I don't have any family member in Congress party. I'm not afraid of naming people. Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia left the party hankering after a bungalow which was taken away from him. But he grew up in that bungalow. Maybe he had an emotional attachment to that bungalow. God be with that. I mean, I wouldn't really comment on that. But where is your commitment is my question. Well, we all lose elections. When Mrs. Dixit lost elections, we had to vacate our government houses. Fair enough. You can't be so attached to a bungalow in Lutyens, Delhi, which Mr. Azad still retains somehow, I don't know how, that you will forget your ties with the Congress party for 40 years, 4 or 5 decades. You will forget all that the Congress party has done for you. And then you say, oh, it was selfless. If this is selfless, where every single year, you had either a constitutional post or an organizational post. We are all selfless. We should all target to be have this kind of selflessness.
No. So are you saying, therefore, Pawan Khera, each and every one of these allegations that are made, and as I said, they are very serious in nature, are to just be wished away? That Ghulam Nabi Azad has done this only because he wants to retain possibly a bungalow or wants to have some organizational post, or as, perhaps wants to move closer towards the ruling establishment. I mean, surely when someone who has been in your party for 50 years takes this decision, does it not need to be taken seriously, or is it young versus old? Is this simply those close to Rahul Gandhi, like yourself, who have a different worldview, to those who are close to the older guard, who believe the party is moving in the wrong direction under his leadership?
Rajdeep, कुदरत का निजाम होता है कि नई पीढ़ी जिम्मेदारियां लेती है. This is the law of nature. The sooner we realize when we turn 70s or 80s, the better it is for us. No.
So you're saying it's old guard versus new. In your view, it's old guard versus new.
I don't see that. I don't see that at all. But some of us are hankering after positions. Even when we've done our innings, we have contributed what we could, good, bad, ugly. I don't want to judge, but we've done our innings. Now, please ensure a smooth transition. If you can't, step away. If you can't even step away, don't go public with your frustration, which has no credibility whatsoever, because everyone has seen you lost your opportunity for a Rajya Sabha, and now here you are venting your frustration out there in public. Why didn't you speak all these 40 years is my question.
You're saying it's about frustration. Prithviraj Chavan joined me, and Prithviraj Chavan is a significant figure because former Maharashtra Chief Minister was also a part of this so-called G23. I don't know how many members of that 23 are left now, Mr. Chavan, but how do you respond? Ghulam Nabi Azad, 50 years in the Congress, is resigning in the manner that he is?
Well, I'm very sad, extremely sad and pained. Ghulam Nabi Azad was a very senior leader. Not only that, he was a secular face of the party, not a minority leader, he was that leader in a true sense. Now, unfortunately, it's being said that we have given so much to him and he got so much and all that thing. See, had Ghulam Nabi Azad was elected to the Congress Working Committee position whenever elections were taking place. Unfortunately, for last 24 years, elections have not taken place. And when we raised the issues and that various issues, that letter that 23 of us wrote, the main demand was that either somebody should, if Rahul Gandhi is ready, let him take over the presidency of the Congress party, leading from the front, and also take responsibilities and accountability of the position that Congress presidents entail. But if he is not willing to accept that responsibility for whatever reason, after 2 successive defeats, he quit in a half, then let a new president be elected. Unfortunately, to all organs of the Congress party, elections had not been held for 24 years. That's why when it comes, we have given him so much, we have given. Are we running in a Mughal empire or what? I mean, if there are elections,
no, so you are endorsing. Are you endorsing what is said in this letter? Are you endorsing what Ghulam Nabi Azad says about the state of the Congress, the sycophancy, the coterie, the non-accountability of the leadership? Are you echoing that?
No, I'm not endorsing that. I am stating the letter which you wrote. Why we wrote that letter? We wrote that letter because there was no elected body to all the organs of the Congress party, and that is why we wanted to explore why Congress party was deteriorating, why we were losing elections after elections. We lost 2 Lok Sabha elections, almost 40 assembly elections. Why was that happen? We wanted introspection. Unfortunately, that did not happen. The Udaipur camp was shifted from being a Chintan Shibir to a Navasankalpa Shibir. Forget about what has happened in the past. Now let's think of the future. But if we continue to make the mistakes that happened in the assembly elections, then Congress party will not revive. This is the historical responsibility of the Congress party to provide a credible, viable alternative to the dictatorial policies of Mr. Modi.
No, you're saying
Congress
that
party is failing in that.
You're saying that
elections.
You're saying that
why
because
are people not supporting us?
Okay, you're saying that you need to introspect. Why are you losing elections? Pawan Khera is saying that there is also an angle, in a way, of people who have served the party for years, who are unwilling to move out. You need to also give space to a younger leadership.
That's perfectly fine. That's so hold elections. Automatically young people will get elected and they'll have legitimacy. Then you will not say that I gave you this much, I gave you this much, Congress party gave you this much. What is there to give? Now when you form a cabinet, you have to form a cabinet of competent people. If Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was thought to be a competent leader by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, then he was a competent leader. But if he had elections, he would have been elected. Now, first, you don't hold any elections. The party is not run on democratic principles. You want to accuse Mr. Modi of a dictatorial, running this country dictatorially. But we are not offering a democratic alternative. So all we had said in that letter, which Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was also a signatory, the letter which you wrote 2 years back, we had said that hold elections as per the Congress constitution.
No, you're saying something very big. You're saying, Mr. Chavan, you're saying something very important. You're saying that the Congress accuses the BJP of being run under Mr. Modi like a dictatorship, but you do not have the same democracy within your party is what you're claiming. But the fact is, all of you have come from that same culture. For years, while the Congress was in power, none of you complained. Now, when the Congress is out of power and you don't see any prospect of returning to power, you suddenly are singling out this anti-democratic culture of your party. This is the way your party has been run for years.
Rajdeep, come on. Rajdeep, come on. Rajdeep, come on. Our Congress party has got a registration with the Election Commission based on a Congress party constitution. Now, is it a legitimate question to ask whether the Congress party is being run as per that constitution which has been there for 135 years?
Sir. Sure, it's a legitimate question, but for 24 years you've not had...
That is why we've been losing elections.
For 24 years you've not had a Congress working committee being elected. Now it's only in the last couple of years that you're now waking up.
The Congress working committee has been there. Congress working committee has been there, but it's been a nominated committee, not an elected committee. So yes, you can accuse all of us of not raising our voice earlier. Fine, but does that not the legitimate question of there should be elections, democratic elections, the party is not a valid question?
It is a valid
And
question.
will the elections be held now to all the positions, all the organs of the Congress party?
It is a valid question, but let me ask you a direct question. Do you believe that Rahul Gandhi is really the person to lead you into the future? Is part of the problem here between those who, when Mr. Azad makes these attacks, it appears he's attacking those around Rahul Gandhi versus those who are seen to be more loyal to the Sonia Rajiv regime, and they are finding themselves increasingly discomfited in this new Rahul Gandhi Congress. Is that the problem between the Rahul Congress and the Sonia Congress, or the old guard and the new?
Look, no, Rajdeep, I'm not a pleader for Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad or anything else. All I'm saying that some of us, we met together and wrote that letter, felt that Congress party has come to this pass only because it is not run purely on a democratic level. The positions in the Congress party have been manned by appointed people, and appointed people tend to only agree with whatever leader wants. They became all yes men, and that is the real reason why we lost the election. If I have no problem with anybody in the party, whatever names you have taken, but they should be elected. If Mr. Rahul Gandhi wants to get elected as a Congress president, I have no problem. And the rank and file of the Congress party elects him. Whether the elections are fair, transparent or not, on all that, that's another question. We cannot have even national elections are not that transparent, but let's have elections with all their faults.
Okay, so you
all
in a
I'm
sense,
let's have elections.
You are
if
saying
Mr. Rahul Gandhi wants to contest the president's election, let him contest.
Okay, your point is well taken. The Congress, you're saying, needs to restore, you believe, an element of democracy in its style of functioning, which you believe is absent at the moment. And that was what you raised a few years ago. Appreciate Prithviraj Sawan, you're joining us here on this big day. Yeah, 2 years ago. Let's from there turn to our next congressman, who's an interesting figure because Ashwini Kumar was former union minister in the Manmohan Singh government. He's also been a congressman who quit the party ahead of the Punjab elections earlier this year. Appreciate your joining us, Ashwini Kumar. Your response to Ghulam Nabi Azad, has he triggered in a way the deep rift that exists within the grand old party between those who are seen to have been loyal to the Sonia generation versus those who are part of the Rahul generation? Is this a generational battle or a battle for the very existence of the Congress?
Well, I think it is a battle for the very existence of the Congress. It would be wrong to limit it to a generational battle. Nobody has ever accused, as far as I can recall, younger people coming in. That's the order of things. The old order changes in place to the new. Everybody knows that. All that was happening in the Congress party, which led many of us to quit, was that there was a diminishing sense of dignity for a period of time. Now somebody, you are very fond of asking this question, why now? Well, there's a tipping point. In everyone's life, there's a tipping point. Some react earlier, some react a little later. Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, in my view, ought to have quit much earlier. He has chosen to do so now. Good luck to him. I think this was only expected. The way he felt he was being treated, any self-respecting man would have gone. Now the question is...
One minute. I must ask you this. You're saying any self-respecting man would have gone. All of you, the argument today that the Congress is making, whether it's Ashwini Kumar, who was made law minister under Manmohan Singh's government, whether it is Ghulam Nabi Azad, who served several governments, important portfolios, I mean, you have given back very little to the party. Party gave it all to you, is what the argument the Congress is making, in a sense that you, when the party is down and out, you are hitting them when they are down and out, rather than standing by them.
Well, you are very fond of reiterating it, and I have answered it ever and ever again. Let me answer it one more time for you and for the viewers. We have given 46 years of our life for the party. I have given 46 years. Out of that, I was a minister for 6 years. All right? We have given our blood and sweat to the party, stood with the party at all difficult times. But there comes a time when you can't take it any longer. Instead of criticizing the dissenters, look inward is my sincere advice to the Congress. We still feel for the Congress. I have no ideological difference with the Congress. I still believe the Congress party should be strengthened. But it will not be strengthened but by our wanting it to be strengthened.
So what do you think is wrong? So Mr. Ashwini Kumar,
at the helm of affairs
So what do you
taking
think?
those steps that will inspire confidence,
Right.
both within the party, but more importantly, amongst the people at large. The Congress's renewal is necessary for national renewal. And Congress will not be able to renew itself if it cannot look outside of the box. You have to do outside of the box thinking, do different things, be inspirational. Now, you can't will a leader to be inspirational. Either someone is inspirational or not. It is for the people of India to judge who's inspirational and not. Why is it that for the last so many years, from last 10 years, 14 years, there's been a decline, at least certainly from 1913, we are now 8 years down the line. There is no sign of any upward movement at all. So the Congress must be doing something which is not right. And I say so with a lot of pain in my heart. I'm not reveling in anybody's discomfort. It doesn't make me feel happy that the party of my forefathers and of our freedom fighters.
So are you saying? No. So are you saying?
Don't begin to question us.
So are you saying
those who created the conditions? Many senior people leaving.
Are you saying, therefore, that you believe that the problem lies with the lack of an inspirational leadership? The words used today by Ghulam Nabi Azad were this remote control model of Sonia Gandhi doesn't work. He refers to Rahul Gandhi as immature in one place. He refers to him as non-serious in the other. Do you believe the leadership is the problem? That the very Sonia Gandhi who brought you in a way to power in 2004, or Rahul Gandhi who, yes, hasn't won a big election, are they the problem? Or is there an organizational problem? Or is it simply that Mr. Modi has taken away your space? He is Neta number one.
Well, politics of any country is not a function of any one factor. As far as Sonia Gandhi's leadership of the Congress party is concerned, I've repeated it ad nauseum that she gave excellent leadership to the party, brought the party back to power. She had the quality of effacing herself. She had the dignity to keep people together, and she never diminished people, to the best of my interaction with her. But from 2014 onwards, you see a perceptible decline, and it is a continuing decline, doesn't seem to be stopping anywhere. The Congress juggernaut is going downhill at a speed faster than any one of us could have imagined. So what has happened from 2014 onwards? Let's ask ourselves this question. Who has been running the government running the party from 2014? Let's ask ourselves the question. Who is the de facto boss? Let's ask ourselves the question. I don't want to name people. I never say anything about individuals. You should know that better, Rajdeep. But a time for alibis is over. The country has passed us by.
No, so are you saying if you dump the Gandhis today and elect a new leadership, all will be well? That the Congress will...
No, I'm not at all suggesting that. I'm certainly not suggesting that. I think Mrs. Sonia Gandhi has a lot of leadership qualities. And in so many ways, she's better than anyone I know in the Congress party. But certainly something drastic has to happen. What that is not for me to advise. I'm not a part of the party. I don't want to be a busybody advising on the national media my old party. They know what is wrong. It is not that Mrs. Gandhi does not know. The only question is, who will bell the cat and how will it be done? And I don't have anything personal against either Rahul Gandhi or anybody else. Everybody has done what they could to the best of their capacities. But that is not good enough. That has been proven over and over again. So what is it to be done? Dumping people is not an answer.
Okay.
You talk of Bharat Jodo, first Jodo the Congress party. And Ghulam Nabi Azad's resignation is not the last of it, let me tell you that.
There will be many more, you're saying. You are saying there will be many more, and you're saying before doing Bharat Jodo, Congress Jodo is what you're saying. Ashwini Kumar, you virtually again echoed what Ghulam Nabi Azad says. I'm seeing these growing divides in a way. A lot of you are now coming out, speaking out strongly in a manner that perhaps was unthinkable a few years ago, and in a way questioning the leadership of the Congress. And since 2014, it has been Rahul Gandhi really the de facto and for some time the de jure leader of the Congress party. Ashwini Kumar, I appreciate you joining us and giving us why you believe the time for change has come in the grand old party. Let's move on to meeting two more of our guests on the round table today. Tavleen Singh, eminent columnist and author, someone who's tracked the party for what, 50 years, Tavleen? I won't reveal age as a result, but you've tracked it for years. And Sanjay Jha, someone who was part of the Congress, suspended. I don't know what his position now is. Before I come to you, I want both of you to listen to this string of bites we've collected of different people who've left the Congress, Ghulam Nabi Azad being, of course, the latest. Listen in and I'll come to you in a minute.
इस दल में मैं था, मुझे ये महसूस होने लगा कि हम लोग राजनीति में हैं और राजनीति एक माध्यम है, दल भी माध्यम है। अगर आप अपने लोगों के हितों की रक्षा नहीं कर सकते, उनके लिए काम नहीं आ सकते, तो आपका राजनीति और दल से में रहने में क्या औचित्य है? अगर आप अपने लोगों के उपयोग नहीं आ सकते, उनके सहायता के लिए आप मौजूद नहीं हो सकते और आपके इस लायक नहीं हैं कि आप अपनी जनता के हितों की रक्षा कर पाएं, तो वो मुझे महसूस होने लगा कि मैं वो कांग्रेस पार्टी में नहीं कर पा रहा हूं।
32 सालों तक मैं एक पार्टी में रहा, ईमानदारी से, लगन से मेहनत किया, परंतु जिस पार्टी में इतने साल रहा वो अब वो पार्टी रह नहीं गई जहां मैंने शुरुआत की थी, और ना तो वो सोच रह गई है।
मेरे पूज्य पिताजी ने और जो पिछले 18-19 वर्षों में समय मुझे मिला है, प्राणपण के साथ और पूरी श्रद्धा के साथ प्रदेश की और देश की सेवा करने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन मन व्यतीत है और मन दुखी भी है। मैं ये कह सकता हूं विश्वास के साथ कि जनसेवा का लक्ष्य की पूर्ति आज उस संगठन के माध्यम से नहीं हो पा रही है, और इसके अतिरिक्त वर्तमान में जो स्थिति कांग्रेस पार्टी में है, वो कांग्रेस पार्टी आज नहीं रही जो पहले थी।
गुजरात अंदर मात्र हार्दिक पटेल कांग्रेस थी नाराज नहीं। गुजरात अंदर एवा असंख्य युवाओं एवा है, असंख्य धारासभ्यो एवा छे, असंख्य नेताओं एवा छे कि जे पोतानी परिस्थितिने एवी हदे मूकी दीधी छे कि मात्र ने मात्र कांग्रेस पार्टी ए लोकोनो उपयोग करवा मांगे छे, ए लोकोनो दुरुपयोग करवा मांगे छे अने समय आवे એટલે લોકોને ફેંકી દેવાનું કામ કરે છે।
Tavleen Singh, how do you respond? How do you see this? We are seeing the melting down almost of the grand old party. Ghulam Nabi Azad may not be a big leader in the definition of getting votes, but he was a prominent face in the Congress for decades. How do you see this from young leaders to the older guard, all of them one by one seemingly wanting to leave?
The rot is very old. Let's not pretend that this is just happening. The change is that the Gandhis are unable to bring in the votes. But don't forget that when Rajiv Gandhi died, the Congress Working Committee, which at that point had chief ministers and, big leaders on it, people who could win states were on that working committee, and they just lay down and said, please, we offer this to Sonia Gandhi. At that point, Sonia Gandhi was not in politics. She really could not even speak Hindi. And from then onwards, it's been, downhill. She actually revived it. We have to give her credit for that. But I think that basically it was turned into a family firm by her, particularly after 2009. After 2009, she turned Manmohan Singh into a regent and, kept waiting. He said, I'm waiting for, whenever Rahul is ready, he can sit. That's not a political party. That's a family firm. And we have to accept that. And all the leaders that have now been dribbling out are leaders that cannot win a single state. We're talking about pygmies. At one point, there was, when Nehru was there, let's not go that far back, but even when Rajiv Gandhi was prime minister, there were chief ministers who could win without him. But since Sonia took over, it has been on her name, and she's made it that way.
So you're saying that Sonia Gandhi is the one who made it a family firm, because there will be those who will say we can go back to the Indira years and she appointed puppet chief ministers, the likes of Baba Sahib Bhosle in Maharashtra was a prime example. Are you saying that the organizational atrophy perhaps began much earlier, but this tendency to concentrate power around only a couple of people around close to the family is a Sonia legacy?
Yes. Don't forget, Sharad Pawar was around under Indira Gandhi. Arjun Singh. There were people who could actually be considered leaders. Under Sonia Gandhi, what she encouraged were political families. They were all heirs. You count the MPs, even the ones who've left now. Many of them are just heirs. And they've moved because they now realize that the Gandhi family does not bring in the votes. Priyanka Gandhi worked very hard in Uttar Pradesh during the election, very hard. She didn't manage to make a difference because I think that the voter has moved on, and what they're up against is, whether you like him or not, a real leader. I'm not a big fan anymore of Modi, but he is a proper leader. And they don't know what to do with that.
You make a very interesting point about the Gandhis being vote catchers for the longest time. But once they stopped being vote catchers, it appears the likes of Ghulam Nabi Azad now really are looking for relevance beyond the Gandhis. You agree with that, Sanjay Jha? That's really, let the elephant in the room remains the Gandhi family. And today, Ghulam Nabi Azad has directly, in a way, attacked them. You can question the language, whether he's being a Gaddar, whether he's been a beneficiary of the same Gandhi coterie politics that he accuses the party of following today. But do you get a sense that, as Tavleen Singh says, because the Gandhis don't get votes and Mr. Modi does, the Congress is facing an existential crisis in which the Gandhis are an intrinsic part?
Well, Rajdeep, Tavleen is absolutely on the spot when she says that the problem that you're seeing in the Congress today is not a recent phenomenon. The last time the Congress party won an absolute majority on its own was that outlier election of 1984. Since then, it has never been able to cross the halfway mark. So, these are realities that we need to confront. Number two, I think if you look at politicians or political parties, they have two principal objectives. One is to win elections. And second, if you are in the opposition, you work hard to get back into governance or power. I think, a lot of these veterans, and I have known the G23 team rather well, they are pretty mature enough, pragmatic enough to know that you can't win all the elections. You win some, you lose some, it's part of the deal. It's going to happen to you. Even the 44 and 52 seats, I'm willing to concede has happened on account of this extraordinary Modi wave, etc., etc. I think the problem that a lot of us, including me, have been rather miffed with is the fact that the Congress party hasn't demonstrated any will to fight back. I'll give you just two examples. Let's not go into the data that we lost 39 of the 49 state elections. I think the world knows that by now. But did anybody see and discuss the AK Antony report after the debacle of 2014? Another election rout, and there was a Ashok Chavan report. No conversations at all. This is not the way you bounce back. And I can tell you, Rajdeep, if you look at even a corporate, you are judged on a quarter-to-quarter performance. Here is a grand old party which is fighting for the idea of India. That's what all the Congress people say, and they're right in saying so. But that idea of India is under threat. And the question that anybody will ask is, guys, what are you doing to, preserve the constitutional democracy and the secularism which is inherent?
Rahul Gandhi is going on a Bharat Jodo Yatra. Rahul Gandhi, for the longest time, you said Rahul Gandhi is not connecting with people. He's only on Twitter. Now he says he's going on a Bharat Jodo Yatra starting early September. Are we saying that Rahul Gandhi is the problem, or is he the solution?
Well, let me concede this.
Straight answer.
Yeah, I think what the Bharat Jodo Yatra is a good decision by the Congress, and I wish it humongous success. I think India needs this kind of a mass movement. But the fundamental point remains, what is the job of a leader? Rajiv, you're a veteran. I'm sure you have led many reporters and anchors on your studio. The job of a leader is to be a troubleshooter. You need to be a motivator. You need to inspire. You need to integrate. Now, if the leader is going to be in a cocoon and not having conversations for whatever personal reasons, that is not going to strengthen your party. If you look at all the people's videos that you played, guys who have left, Jyotiraditya, RP and Jitin, and you can add a whole laundry list of people to that, all of them left because they said we are not being heard. That's ridiculous. In an age of democracy, of conversations, television, social media, you're not talking to your own team. How the hell are you going to take on the BJP?
You know, that's interesting because one of the charges, of course, made against Rahul Gandhi, and a senior leader claims that he's been waiting for an appointment for more than 6 months with Mr. Gandhi. Communication is an issue. But Tavleen Singh, does it boil down to Rahul Gandhi and perhaps his failure to inspire the Congress? Is he the problem? Or is it, as some allege, that many of these leaders themselves are rootless wonders? They themselves cannot win an election. Some of them have turned to the BJP because they hope that the BJP will provide them an anchor that the Congress cannot. How do you, I mean, is this a problem that exists at multiple levels? There's no silver bullet that is going to solve it overnight.
No, there is no silver bullet. But please remember that he's announced this this Bharat Jodo Yatra, and now the whole family is going abroad. So he's not going to be leading it. I think he leaves 3 days before the Yatra begins.
No, he's coming back. They've gone and they're coming. He's coming back on the 4th of September. Yatra starts on 7th. But they're going to have a virtual CWC meeting on Sunday. So it's going to be virtual with the Gandhis out of the country.
This is not how you rebuild a political party. Crisis is a very old one. It's not how you lead. You know, I mean, it's basically, when you ask whether Rahul is the problem, I think he's part of the problem. Because, you know, I know people who know him and he keeps talking about, you know, we're playing a long game. Now, what is this long game if we're not going to win in 24, you know? I mean, when are you going to, what is this game that is being played? And they've all got this kind of strange idea that he seems to be seeing into the future, into some distant future when Modi will just collapse from his own mistakes and they will come back, because they've actually done nothing to, you know, Rahul tweets about Modi's mistakes. He makes speeches about them, but they do nothing about it. You know, if the Congress party stands for what it should stand for, it will win. But where have they made an effort to say, this is what we stand for, this is what India needs?
But you don't think if the Gandhis were to walk away into the sunset, what happens to the party? Because there are two views. One is if the Gandhis walk into the sunset, the party collapses, fragments. The other is it re-energizes itself because India wants to see a new leadership in the opposition, you know, someone outside the Gandhis. Rahul Gandhi's lost 2 general elections in a row. Sonia Gandhi doesn't keep good health. You said Priyanka Gandhi Vadra tried hard in UP, didn't win. So look beyond them. Do you believe if the Congress were to look beyond them, they would resolve their issues, or the issues again go beyond just the family?
I think the family should be non-executive members of the board and then allow other people to rise up in the party. They shouldn't be in the leading role, but as a symbol, they're pretty useful to the Congress party because that's all that's left of it. So if they disappear, then you've got to restart the party from scratch. So they are symbolic of that, what they dine out on the whole time. You know, meri dadi football dekhti thi, vagera, vagera. You know, without realizing.
But they're also symbolic of the old, of the ancien regime, and many people want to be rid of that. There is a new India. What I find interesting, Tavleen Singh, is if you look at even the voter base, India is getting younger, and it's actually among the younger voters that Mr. Modi does very well. So it's almost as if the new India wants a new kind of politics, and maybe the Gandhis represent the ancien regime. You're saying they can be symbolic figureheads, a point made which Mr. Azad makes today, that they're just figureheads, or whoever is elected now will be just a figurehead, beg your pardon. But the sense I get is that maybe there's a disconnect between the way the Congress is run and the way India wants its politics to go ahead. Okay, Tavleen Singh's frame is frozen, but you want to take that question, Sanjay Jha? You know, is there a disconnect between your party, its workers, and the people of India? You know, the Congress has its own echo chambers, but you have to win elections outside your echo chambers. The one figure I want to give you, Sanjay, is the Congress won about 11 crore votes in 2009, and it has continued to win around 11 crore votes 10 years later. The BJP went from 7 crores in 2009 to 22 crores now. So BJP is getting the younger voters. They are more in tune with New India, like him or not, like Mr. Modi or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the big differentiator between the Congress and the BJP is the hunger to win. You look at the BJP, it concludes one election, whether it wins or loses, is targeting the next one. And honestly, I have been telling this to a lot of Congress people, that we talk about the idea of India, secularism, liberalism, progressivism. We talk about tolerance, inclusivity. To make that happen, you need to be in power. You need to win elections. The reason why the country is now looking at hyper-nationalism, Hindutva, communal polarization, is because that's the BJP's agenda. And they are obviously being brazen about it, because they say, listen, I told you so, and you know what we are all about. So end of day, Rajdeep, I think that is fundamental. The second point remains that the Congress, despite losing such amazing talent, still has a very strong reservoir of good people. I think the mistake that Rahul is making is sticking to a few people in his caucus. Many of them, I can tell you, are political entrepreneurs. They are people who are on their own self-driven agenda. And the Congress, unfortunately, is back to that same old coterie problem. Therefore, I'm saying I'm disappointed with Rahul because I've known him for a long time. And he should have been a breath of fresh air. But he seems to have become part of the status quo.
Tavleen Singh, the cameras went away at a rather inopportune time, because I was just saying, if the Gandhis were not around, which way does the Congress head? Do you see the Congress reviving at all? Should we be scripting the obituary, or do you believe after all the years that you've done political journalism, never script the obituary of anyone?
Yeah, well, you should never do that in any case, not for a political party that is more than 100 years old. I believe it can revive. I believe that actually, God knows what's going to happen in the next year or so. But if, for instance, the communal divisions explode, which there's every likelihood that they can, because it's getting pretty ugly. But you see, the Congress party needs a lot of people to be out there literally at the panchayat level, reaching out, finding out what's wrong. You can't try to revive the party by sitting outside Sonia Gandhi's house. You've got to move out. You've got to find leaders. And there are people who disagree with the BJP. What happened to Prashant Kishore's advice? He had to leave in despair. And I think he gave them some pretty good advice. So they haven't actually made any effort to change. They've just been hoping that they hoped in 2019 that they would win. They were sure they were going to win. Do you remember? So, obviously.
And I was sure they were going to lose.
Oh, well, you were among the few.
Yes, I was.
Because a lot of people thought that they would win. And they certainly did. The Gandhi family certainly did. And what was the new thing he offered? His sister. Rahul Gandhi's sister was introduced as the new idea. Where is it showing that they are a real political party, that they are there for the people of India? And, as for that idea of India that Sanjay was just talking about, they should stop talking about that. They should talk about pluralism and all that sort of business. But it's now Modi's India. It is Modi's India. We have to accept that. And that is what they're up against.
So if you were a member of the Congress and you had to choose a Congress president, would you have a choice? Do you see someone out there who could be a potential Congress president who could, in a way, offer a challenge in terms of leadership? Because elections are becoming presidential. You see a face outside there who could, according to you, challenge the Modi leadership?
Look, I really don't even want to stick. I don't want to go there. Ask Sanjay that question.
Okay, I'll ask Sanjay that question. Sanjay, since you've been an insider more than both Tavleen and me, I'm not calling you a darbari because that is an offensive word, and you weren't one. But that's why you were suspended, perhaps. So I'm going to ask you, you have a leader in choice, if you would choose, who could arrest this hemorrhaging that's going on?
Well, firstly, you can't use Darbari because that is Tavleen's intellectual copyright. That was the title of a book. But on a serious vein, I have mentioned this publicly. I've written an article on it. I've done another one today. I believe the Congress needs its own double engine, which is a Priyanka Gandhi Sachin pilot combination. And I'll tell you why. I'm telling you this because I know the Congress from within. Priyanka Gandhi can be the glue for the Gandhi loyalists within the party, because that's what the Congress doesn't want to move away from. It's a reality. Let me tell you that. If today the Gandhi stood for the Congress president, it's a 99.99% vote going to them, whoever opposes them. On the other hand, bring in Sachin Pilot. Priyanka Pilot is hungry, ambitious. I know Sachin. He's a guy who's clued into the nitty-gritties of politics. He's someone who has dreams. He's willing to slog his guts out. Now, he can be your pan-India campaigner. He's bilingual. He's super smart communicator. You need somebody hungry, and a combination of Priyanka and Pilot could just be the right fit for in India.
2 Ps is what you're suggesting in a way. Well, the Congress, we can offer all the solutions we can. It's the grand old party, and even though the party has suffered electorally, it continues to gather a lot of public attention and attraction because, as many people have said, it's been there for the longest time. And when something is there for as long as the Congress, you feel a sense of affection for it. And today, Ghulam Nabi Azad, affection or not, has decided to leave, but not without a note of anger. Tavleen Singh, Sanjay Jha, wonderful to have you. And it's been really educative over the last few minutes to get a sense of what people have to say about the Congress party. Will the Congress party listen or will it be status quoist? Well, time will tell is the cliche. I leave you though with an intriguing thought. What will Ghulam Nabi Azad do next? He's Azad from the Congress, but is he Modi-fied? Well, I leave you with this little clip of Prime Minister Modi when Ghulam Nabi Azad was retiring recently from the Rajya Sabha, paying tribute to his friend Ghulam Nabi Azad. Netas will come, netas will go. Political parties will continue. We're not writing any obituaries tonight, but who knows what happens next. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
उस रात को एयरपोर्ट से उन्होंने मुझे फोन किया और जैसे अपने परिवार के सदस्य की चिंता करें, वैसी चिंता
Island. This is Taiwan's most threatened outpost, just 10 kilometers away from mainland China. If China made the Great Wall, Taiwan made a series of such tunnels right from 1949 onwards. Join me, Gaurav Sawant, as I report live and exclusive from Ground Zero, Taiwan, only on India Today.
जो भी हुंदा है वो हम कर दें या फिर हम हवा विच एवं ही उड़ते फिरते हैं यहाँ से वहाँ
आजाद मैदान में भाषण देते वक्त गंगूबाई ने आंखें झुका कर नहीं, आंखें मिलाकर अपने हक की बात की है भाई।
I can see dead people. बचपन से भूतों के बीच पला बड़ा हूं मैं।
कश्मीर के मसले का एक ही हल, जिहाद।
अरे जब शक्ति, संपत्ति, सद्बुद्धि ये तीनों ही औरतें हैं, तो इन मर्दों को किस बात का गुरूर?
Can pets around us be infected with monkeypox? Yes is the answer to that. In fact, a case was seen in France of a human-to-dog transmission, which then prompted the World Health Organization to come out and say that there is a possibility of animals being infected from humans, and that's the reason why humans who have been infected with monkeypox must isolate from the animals as well. Earlier this week, French researchers documented the first case of a dog with confirmed monkeypox infection in a Lancet report that the dog might have acquired this infection through human transmission. In fact, there has been a lot of speculation in the US already that the outbreak in the country was because of a dog. The WHO, however, says that human-to-dog transmission is actually not surprising. The WHO says that experts have been working with partners such as the World Organization of Animal Health and the Food and Agriculture Organization to address this matter.
This has been a theoretical risk. You may see that a number of public health agencies have advised those who contract monkeypox to make every effort to isolate from their pets or to isolate their pets from themselves because of this hypothetical risk, particularly both in the household for domestic pets as well as in possible risks of contamination of animals outside the household. For example, rodents accessing garbage and things like that.
The CDC has also advised that people with monkeypox should in fact avoid coming in contact with animals, including their pets. The infection can spread with prolonged physical contact, for example, hugging your pet or kissing your pet. Petting, cuddling, licking and sharing sleep areas and sharing food could lead to the spread of this infection. The CDC says pets who had close contact with someone with monkeypox symptoms should also be isolated, should be kept at home and should be kept secluded for some time to observe symptoms. The CDC also says that they are unsure if reptiles, amphibians or birds can get monkeypox. They say it is unlikely since these animals have not been found to be infected with other orthopox viruses.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Co-powered by HDFC Bank Parivartan, a step towards sustainable progress. In association with Bharti AXA Life Insurance, do the smart thing. Hetic Fittings, make your furniture work beautifully. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ. A party, drugs, and mysterious death. Who killed BJP leader and actor Sonali Phogat? What was the motive? Shocking CCTV images surface. Drugged Sonali seen struggling to walk. Her close aide is accused number 1. Sonali murder mystery. Top focus on India First.
There's a startling new video that's emerged, and this is CCTV camera images from a popular bar and restaurant at the Anjuna beach in Goa. BJP leader and TV star Sonali Phogat is barely able to walk. Watch those images very carefully. Police say it emerges she was forcibly given a drugs-laced drink or water, something in a bottle. Look at the time stamp. Close to 4:30 in the morning. 2.5 hours later, she was dead. Was she murdered? What was the motive? I'm Gaurav Sawant. We'll explore, but first, as always, the headlines. Congress veteran Prithviraj Chavan echoes Ghulam Nabi Azad, asks if the party now is like the Mughal Empire for the Gandhis. Congress comes out to discredit Ghulam Nabi Azad, brands him an opportunist after he quits.
Unfortunately, to all organs of the Congress party, elections had not been held for 24 years. That's why when it comes, we have given him so much, we have given. Are we running in a Mughal empire or what?
For Aam Aadmi Party, Lieutenant Governor flags irregularities in construction of classrooms in Delhi government schools, says the construction cost was enhanced and no tenders were issued and no action taken on the vigilance report. Sends freebies case to a 3-judge bench for review. Issues of EC directions and scope of judicial review to be examined in detail. Karnataka High Court allows Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at Bengaluru's Eidgah Maidan, the grounds at the center of a very polarizing political war. We begin India First with news just coming in. Goa police sources have now confirmed to India Today that Sonali Phogat, BJP leader and TV star, was given MDMA. The party drug was allegedly mixed in a bottle of water and she was forced to drink from this bottle. There apparently are some CCTV images. There are some other accounts that the police are very closely looking at. A chemical analysis is also being done on this. That's a big story. Now, some of these images have gone viral. The image that you see, one of the dance that was happening, and two, this image of she's almost staggering out. She's unable to walk. The person who's assisting her is now accused in a case of IPC under section 302, which is murder investigation.
So this stunning new twist in the Sonali Phogat investigation, this BJP leader and TV actor found dead under very mysterious circumstances on the 23rd of August. Goa police have now revealed that Sonali Phogat was given some chemical liquid in a bottle when she was out partying. The two people she was partying with, Sudhir Sangwan and Sukhwinder Singh. Now, Sudhir Sangwan is her personal assistant. Sukhwinder Singh is an aide. Pankaj Upadhyay in Goa gets us more.
A visibly unwell Sonali Phogat being taken out of the Curly's shack in Goa's famous Anjuna beach. This CCTV video taken at 4:27 AM on the 23rd of August has added a stunning new twist to her death mystery. Sonali can be seen struggling to walk as she is supported by Sudhir Sangwan, her personal assistant, and the main accused in the murder case that has been filed. The BJP leader and social media sensation died hours after an alleged drug-fueled revelry party. The Goa police claims they are in possession of videos that show Sonali allegedly being forced to consume drugs by her associates.
और एक वीडियो से जाहिर होता है कि उसको एक सब्सटेंस फोर्सफुली विक्टिम को वन ऑफ द एक्यूज पिला रहा है.
The police claim Sonali appeared to be unwell after taking the alleged drugs.
करीब 4:30 बजे जब वो अपने आप को संभालने में नाकाम रही तो मुलजिम विक्टिम को बाथरूम टॉयलेट की तरफ लेके जाता है और फिर वहां करीब 2 घंटे वो रहते हैं टॉयलेट में, जिसका एक्सप्लेनेशन अभी तक एक्यूज ने नहीं दिया है.
The police have already registered a murder case and are grilling two suspects, Sonali's personal assistant Sudhir Sangwan and his friend Sukhwinder Wasi. The new revelations about drugs have changed the course of this investigation. The autopsy had earlier pointed to blunt force injuries on Sonali's body. The celebrity's family has been claiming she was murdered.
हम बार-बार इसी चीज़ को रिपीट कर रहे थे कि हमारी FIR दर्ज की जाए और हमारी रिटन कंप्लेंट में यही था कि उनको कुछ खिला पिला के या जिस तरह जैसे भी उनका मर्डर किया गया है. तो अब पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में चीज़ें सामने आ रही हैं. गोवा पुलिस प्रशासन अब कोऑपरेट करने लगा है.
Sonali's death has sparked a political firestorm. The opposition in Goa is alleging an attempt to cover up.
That the chief minister likes to give clean cheat and likes to jump the gun. And all this is giving Goa a bad name.
Sonali Phogat's body reached Hisar in Haryana on Friday, where she was cremated.
Well, as the Amber Fires embrace Sonali Phogat's mortal remains, a TikTok sensation and a BJP leader loved by many leaves this earth with many questions unanswered. Some of them will find their answers in the investigation that the Goa police is doing. 2 arrests have been made, but the family grieves and is still undecided on whether the investigation should be carried forward with a CBI probe.
With a drug angle coming to light now, the police are looking at all possible angles, including murder. With Arvind Ojha in Delhi, Pankaj Upadhyay in Goa and Milan Sharma in Hisar, Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today's Pankaj Upadhyay now joins me live from Parji in Goa. Pankaj, police investigations into this mysterious substance in that bottle of water. What more do we know?
Gaurav, the drug angle becomes the most important angle right now. Of course, the police maintains that with the help of the CCTV footage, they have been able to ascertain that some substance was indeed mixed with water and was forcibly given to Sonali. What was this foreign substance? Police says they will be 100% sure only when they get a forensic report at their hand, because then there will be conclusive evidence as to what was the foreign substance that entered the body. Of course, now various theories are coming out about the type of drug as well. That is on account of the fact that the police is also questioning the accused at this point of time. But the police maintains they are looking at all the angles. They are going to be very careful now. Whatever the accused are saying, they are going to corroborate the same with the statements of the eyewitnesses that were present there. The owner there of the shack as well, that is the restaurant where she has visited in the night time. and also the eyewitnesses of the hotel where she was staying, and also the people who at first watched her in the hospital as well. Of course, what is also of a significance that the police is looking for, which has not got the answers as yet, after Sonali started feeling uneasy, why did her PA take her to the toilet and made her sit there for 2 hours?
2 hours?
The accused have not answered this very, very big question. Additionally, also, of course, Gaurav, that question on who the drug peddler is. Was he the one being questioned right now that supplied drugs to the PA and the Sukhvinder? Or did these two accused procure it on their own from some place?
Okay.
But if at all they did, where did they dispose of the container? So these are some of the most important questions to which the answers are still being sought by the Goa.
Pankaj, what about motive? What was the motive? Any murder, any investigation, to build a cogent case, they would want to know the motive. So was this a drug OD, a drug overdose? Did they plan to murder her? Do we have any details in this aspect?
Gaurav, in the noon time, when IG Goa Police was taking a press briefing, I had asked him a couple of questions, and in those questions, there was one question where I had asked him, is this a premeditated crime? To which he said that they need to draw a chronological order. They are looking at all angles. They are also in touch with the Hisar police as well. And after they have got all forms of evidences at their hand, then only they will be coming out with some sort of a conclusion and some sort of a theory. For now, they say they are looking at all the possible angles. But for now, at least at this point of time, what remains important is the drug theory. Was there a drug overdose, a purposeful drug overdose that took the life of this BJP leader and TikTok star? Tomorrow is an important day. Tomorrow.
On the story, I'm just being joined by Kuldeep Phogat. Sonali Phogat's brother now joins me on the show from Hisar. कुलदीप जी, बहुत कठिन परिस्थिति है आपके और आपके परिवार के लिए। अभी तक की जो जांच हुई है, हमारी संवेदनाएं आपके साथ है कुलदीप जी। हमारी अभी तक जो जांच हुई है पुलिस की, क्या आप उससे संतुष्ट हैं या परिवार अभी भी सीबीआई जांच की मांग कर सकता है, क्योंकि इस बारे में आप विचार कर रहे थे?
पुलिस से कोई बात नहीं हुई है मैडम हमारी। हम तो ये ट्वीट वगैरह यही पढ़ रहे हैं, जो आ रहे हैं उन पे कह रहे हैं भाई हमारे को ये फुटेज मिली है, ये मिली है, उनके हिसाब से हम कह रहे हैं भाई पुलिस अच्छा काम कर रही है, हमारे साथ है पुलिस। अभी तक तो डीएसपी भी वहाँ के ठीक है, ईमानदार आदमी है, इंस्पेक्टर भी ईमानदार आदमी है, डॉक्टर भी ईमानदार आदमी है, और जो पोस्टमार्टम की रिपोर्ट दी है वो भी सही दी है उन्होंने, और जो पुलिस ने काम किया है वो भी सही किया है। तो पुलिस पे हमारे को कोई संदेह नहीं है। अभी तक तो साथ है, जब साथ नहीं होगी हमारी तो हम सीबीआई इंक्वायरी की जांच करवाएंगे और नार्को टेस्ट करवाएंगे।
ठीक, तो आपको संदेह नहीं है पुलिस की भूमिका पर? पुलिस आपके मुताबिक सही काम कर रही है, लेकिन ये जो ड्रग्स की बात आ रही है और ये जिस व्यक्ति की बात आ रही है, सांगवान, सुधीर सांगवान, इसके बारे में आप हमें क्या बता सकते हैं?
पहले कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ उसके साथ, ना वो ड्रग्स लेती थी, ना उसको आदत थी कोई ड्रग्स की। ये सुधीर सांगवान है जो जी ये खाने में देता था, आस्ता आस्ता डोज देता गया, इसने डोज बढ़ा दी। जब पता चलने लग गया मेरे हाथ पैर काम नहीं कर रहे हैं और मेरे यानी कि दिमाग यानी कि घूम रहा है, मेरे को नींद आ रही है, इस तरह वाली बातें तो सामने आई थी, लेकिन ये नहीं पता ये ऐसे काम भी कर सकता है क्या, डोज दे के इतना यानी कि षड्यंत्र रच सकता है। इतना मालूम होता तो हम जाने ही नहीं देते।
गोवा जाने से पहले कोई बातचीत हुई थी आपकी सोनाली जी से इस बारे में कि वो गोवा जा रही है, क्यों जा रही है? पुलिस से जांच में, क्योंकि अभी हमको ये पता चल रहा है कि जो पुलिस है वो हिसार पुलिस से भी बात करना चाहती है, उस बारे में आप हमें क्या बता सकते हैं?
परिवार में ये नहीं बताया जी मैं गोवा जा रही हूँ, ये कह रहा था मैं बाहर जा रही हूँ, ये गुड़गांव से गई है या सीधी गोवा गई है ये मालूम नहीं है हमारे को। उन्होंने सामान जरूर खरीदा था रोहतक से फ्लैट के लिए, वहाँ यानी कि गुड़गांव में एक फ्लैट किराए पे लिया था जी। इस सुधीर सांगवान ने ये कह गए कि सोनाली फोगाट मेरी मिसेज है और एक खुद का फ्लैट था उसका, और वो भी नट गया कहने से भी ये फ्लैट मेरा है। हम इस चक्कर में यानी कि उनसे वो CBI इंक्वायरी करवाने की वो की थी हमने, वो या नार्को टेस्ट हो जाए उससे पहले पुलिस ने हमारी वो FIR दर्ज कर दी। पोस्टमार्टम में सही रिपोर्ट आ गई, पुलिस साथ दे रही है हमारे को, पुलिस पे कोई वो नहीं है। जब तक साथ देगी पुलिस हमारा तो हम कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करेंगे। मनोहर लाल खट्टर ने भी ये आश्वासन दिया है कि बोला अगर जो पुलिस वहाँ की सही काम नहीं करती हो तो जो भी फोगाट परिवार कहेगा वो हम यानी कि CBI इंक्वायरी करवाना चाहेगा तो CBI इंक्वायरी कराएंगे, और नार्को टेस्ट करवाना चाहेंगे तो नार्को टेस्ट कराएंगे। अगर वहाँ की पुलिस साथ देती है तो हमारे को कोई जरूरत नहीं है, पाक साफ है वहाँ की पुलिस, तो हम CBI रिपोर्ट नहीं कराएंगे। अगर जो हमारे को शक हुआ ये हमारे साथ सहयोग नहीं कर रही वहाँ की पुलिस तो हम CBI इंक्वायरी करवाएंगे और नार्को टेस्ट कराएंगे।
एक मेरा प्रश्न जल्दी से आपसे है,
फिर हमारे को कोई गिला शिकवा नहीं सरकार से। सरकार ने आश्वासन दिया है, हम तो अभी सरकार के कहने पे चल रहे हैं जो सरकार ने आश्वासन दिया है।
एक जल्दी से प्रश्न मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता था कि पुलिस से आपकी इस दिशा में कोई बात हुई है कि मकसद क्या होगा? क्या कोई प्रॉपर्टी का विवाद था, कुछ पैसे को लेकर विवाद था? उस बारे में आप हमें क्या बता सकते हैं?
प्रॉपर्टी का ही चक्कर था सारा, और उनकी क्या चक्कर था, प्रॉपर्टी हड़पने के लिए उसको गोवा ले जाया गया, वहाँ ले जाके कांड किया गया। यहाँ आसपास जैसे रोहतक वगैरह जींद वर्गे शहर में करता तो उसको पता है उनके घर वाले आ जाएंगे, तो उसको पता है 2-3 दिन तो आएंगे नहीं, इतने पता नहीं चलेगा उनको, और ये हार्ट अटैक में बदल देंगे भी, इसका हार्ट अटैक हो गया और फिर सारी संपत्ति हड़प लेंगे हम। ये
आपने हमसे बात की सुधीर जी?
तहत काम हुआ है, सारे 2-3 जनों ने मिलके की है साजिश।
जी आपने कुलदीप जी हमसे बात की, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हमारी संवेदनाएं आपके और आपके परिवार के साथ है इस समय। उम्मीद यही कि जांच में तथ्य निकलकर, सच्चाई निकलकर सामने आएगी। Many thanks for joining us here on this India First special broadcast, and I quickly want to bring into this conversation Dr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of Uttar Pradesh Police and someone who's actually dealt with these very difficult investigations in the past. Dr. Singh, many thanks for speaking to us here at India Today. I want to understand from you, sir, the investigations that have been carried out so far. You heard Mr. Bishnoi, the IG of police, saying some drugs were forcibly given to the victim, to the lady. What do you make of this crime, sir? Merit in the family saying it was for money, it was for property.
Good evening, Gaurav ji. Yes, it is a well-planned, cold-blooded murder, and you can make out that she was administered what is known commonly as a date rape drug, MDMA, also known popularly as ecstasy. I would not like you to go details lest is a very popular channel. It will give ideas to the youth, but I will stop at that. But getting the MDMA in possession, feeding it, and there are anti-mortem injuries of sharp-edged pointed weapon, I would like to compliment the Goa police for invoking the provisions of section 174 of the CRPC, reopening the case and incorporating the allegations of the brother and from the deceased family, and incorporating sections 302 and 34 common intention sections of the Indian Penal Code. I would say that very seldom have I seen this swift and professional response that Omveer Singh Bishnoi has given. My congratulations to him. Now what remains to be done is, as Kuldeep, the deceased brother, mentioned, narco analysis and polygraph test of both the important accused Sukhvinder and Sudhir Sangwan. You see, taking in the deceased into the toilet for 2 hours, it was not that they were willing to give her a stomach wash. No, stomach wash was just not the motive. I would also fault the bar owner or the club owner. Under what circumstances does a lady go with a man, whether it was a men's toilet or a ladies' toilet? For 2 hours, it was their duty to ensure that a person who requires medical attention immediately, what were they doing? They have a lot of answering to do. Under these circumstances, when there are anti-mortem injuries, administration of MDMA, and also the presence of these two under suspicious circumstances, changing the statements, well, it is very clear. I would not like to cloud the judgment of the investigators, but it is a cold-blooded, deliberate murder, and it is not merely the property. I would reserve my comments because a word to the wise is enough. I feel there is so much that I can read into the entire episode. The journey from Haryana and coming to Goa, planning the visit to the club, administering MDMA, getting anti-mortem injuries. Gaurav, you are so wise, you've seen the world, you would realize what were the undercurrents.
So, you know, all of these dots seem to indicate that this was premeditated murder. Getting the victim to Goa, taking her to a nightclub, MDMA, and not taking her to hospital immediately for a stomach flush, but keeping her locked in a bathroom. These are very interesting, aspects that the police would be looking at. Sir, another aspect that is being talked about in hushed tones, not yet in public domain, is something that the Goa police is also getting in touch with the Hisar police about, is the mysterious death of a husband in 2016. The police now say they want the Hisar police to shed some light whether there could be a link between the two. Does that sound plausible to you?
I think that may be of academic interest because I did see the version of the deceased on the death of the husband that she said that I had very good relationship. He had everything going his way, very well to do, living with the family, everything was hunky-dory. But the questions were raised in his unnatural death. He was a young man, hale and hearty, and questions were raised. And I do hope that the police would also examine, because under these circumstances, motive, as you very rightly mentioned in your opening remarks, is an extremely important aspect. What were the circumstances of the death of the deceased, in that case, the late husband of the current deceased? Therefore, if there are some intertwining features, something connected to where the accused can also be pinpointed in that unnatural death, well, the police have a task to perform and they're doing it very thoroughly.
Now, in case there are investigations that go into multiple states, and in your appreciation, and since you've dealt with these cases in different parts of the country, sir, would this be a fit case for investigation by the Goa police cooperating with the Hisar police and vice versa, or be handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation?
My first opinion would have been to the CBI, but knowing what Omveer Singh Vishnoi has done, he has been extremely professional and I think he has been proactive. I would say give Omveer Singh Vishnoi a chance. I think he would be better than the CBI in this case.
You make very valid points, sir, for joining me here on this India First special. Many thanks, because we'll be tracking the story very, very closely. This video was taken at 4:27 and at 7:30, she was no more. What transpired between 4:27 and 7:30 is a matter of investigation. I now want to shift focus to the other big story here on India First. In 2003, radical Islamist terrorists identified, lined up and killed 24 Kashmiri Pandits in Nandimarg in cold blood. Among those killed were 11 men, 11 women and 2 children, one child as young as 2 years old. Almost 20 years later, the Jammu and Kashmir High Court has ordered the case be investigated afresh. For the only survivor of the Nandimarg massacre, this provides a ray of hope. India Today's Sunil Ji Bhatt spoke to Mohanlal Bhatt. His father, mother, sister and uncle were killed. He managed to hide in a shed. We bring you this spine-chilling India Today exclusive report.
कोई 10:30 का टाइम था, तो सोने की तैयारी हो रही थी। अब तो हम सो गए थे। तो जैसे थोड़ा कोई 15-20 मिनट हुए थे सोए हुए, तो बाहर से कुछ आवाज़ आई, जैसे तोड़ फोड़ की आवाज़ आई, खिड़कियां बंद करने की ऐसे ज़ोर से आवाज़ आई। तो मैंने, मम्मी मेरे पास ही सोए थे, मैंने उनको बोला कुछ आवाज़ें आ रही थी बाहर से। तो उन्होंने बोला नहीं, आवाज़ नहीं, कोई खिड़की बंद कर रहा होगा। मैंने बोला नहीं, कुछ मम्मी कुछ गड़बड़ है बाहर, तो हम एक काम करते हैं, आप उठो, तो देखते हैं क्या होगा। तो मैंने मम्मी को उठाया, दीदी भी साइड में सोए थे, उनको भी उठाया। इतनी देर में पापा को भी उठाया, वो नीचे वाले कमरे में सोए थे। इतनी देर में हमने क्या देखा कि जैसे मैंने आधा ही बाहर का जो मेन डोर था वो खोला, तो बाहर आर्मी यूनिफॉर्म में 2 मतलब साइड में थे, वो दिखे नहीं पूरे हमें।
आतंकवादी जो है सेना की वर्दी में पहन कर आए
में थे। उस टाइम मेरी मम्मा की आवाज़ आई, उन्होंने उनको हिंदी में बोला कि हमारे पास जो भी होगा हम दे देंगे, लेकिन हमें छोड़ दो। तो वहाँ से एक आतंकवादी बोलता है, कोई बात नहीं, आपको अभी चुप करा देंगे। ये उनकी आवाज़ मैंने लास्ट टाइम सुनी थी, अपनी मम्मी की आवाज़ लास्ट टाइम सुनी थी। तो इतनी देर में क्या हुआ, सेम उनका ये बोलना कि आपको अभी चुप करा देंगे, इतनी देर में एक कैमरा की जैसे फ्लैश लाइट होती है, वो पता नहीं वो सिग्नल था गोलियां बरसाने का क्या था, वो फ्लैश लाइट ऑन हुई तो फायर हो गई स्टार्ट। फिर किसी की आवाज़ नहीं, खाली गोलियों की आवाज़ सुनाई दी मुझे,
गोलियों की आवाज़
सुनाई दी मुझे। तो इतनी देर में एक छोटा सा बच्चा जो उधर भी था जिनकी किलिंग हुई थी, उनमें से एक बच्चा रोया। तो एक मिलिटेंट ने कश्मीरी में बोला, यम जिंदा इन पे और फायरिंग करो।
अच्छा, मतलब आतंकवादी ने कहा 2 साल का बच्चा जो 2 साल का बच्चा रोने लगा, तो एक स्थानीय आतंकवादी ने कश्मीरी में कहा कि ये बच्चा अभी 2 वर्ष का बच्चा जिंदा है, इस पर दोबारा गोली मारो।
ये जिंदा है अभी, उन्होंने बोला, नहीं बच्चा नहीं बोला, उन्होंने बोला ये अभी जिंदा है और फायरिंग करो।
कौन जिंदा है?
यही मतलब जिन पे उन्होंने गोलियां चलाई थी,
इनमें से कोई जिंदा है, गोली दो,
और फायर करो। तो जाते जाते उन्होंने फिर कितने और फायर किए हैं तो वो भी मैं बता नहीं सकता। जैसे मैं चिल्लाया, बैटरी की लाइट नीचे गिरी तो नीचे सारे
आपको शव दिखे,
सारे पड़े हुए थे। मतलब कोई मूवमेंट नहीं थी, कुछ नहीं थी, सिर्फ खून ही खून था चारों तरफ। तो मैं दीदी और मम्मी को ढूंढने लगा। फिर वहाँ पे जो गवर्नमेंट का रवैया रहा हमारे लिए, जो उस टाइम ये मुफ्ती मोहम्मद सईद उनकी सरकार थी, पीडीपी की सरकार थी, उन्होंने बड़ी कोशिश की थी हमें वहाँ रोकने के लिए।
मतलब आप चाहते थे जम्मू वापस, अब जम्मू भाग कर चले जाएं, वहाँ पर आपको खतरा लग रहा
था ही नहीं, वहाँ पे सब कुछ खत्म हो चुका, बचा तो कुछ नहीं था।
परिवार खत्म कर दिए गए।
जिनके साथ घर था वो तो रहे नहीं, खाली मकान रहा था वहाँ पे। तो अब हमने सोचा था कि हम यहाँ नहीं रहेंगे, हम बाहर ही बैठते थे। उन्होंने ऐसा एक प्रोपेगेंडा वहाँ पे किया, पूरी जो विलेज है उस पर तारबंदी कर दी, किसी को बाहर जाने नहीं।
किसने किया?
उस टाइम की पीडीपी सरकार ने, ना बाहर जाने दिया किसी को, ना अंदर आने दिया किसी को।
एक आशा की किरण आपको लग रही है कि न्याय मिलेगा अब?
जिस हिसाब से अब मतलब गवर्नमेंट स्टेप उठा रही है, सख्त कदम उठा रही है, इन मतलब जो मैसेकर्स हुए थे, जो कल्प्रिट पाए गए हैं, जो दोषी पाए गए, उनके खिलाफ जो उनको मिल रही है, सजाएं मिल रही है, तो उस हिसाब से अब एक उम्मीद, एक किरण थोड़ी सी जाग गई है। नहीं, शायद हमारे साथ भी जस्टिस होगा शायद।
Armed with facts, she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
G. Choklinga joining us now, founder Economics Research and Advisory. Mr. Choklinga, expiry day, tons of volatility, and markets have definitely had a bit of a setback this week.
Yes, certainly. I think the most important reason was sudden spurt in the oil price last couple of days. After falling as low as $93 Brent oil, today it picked up above $100. So $100 per barrel becomes a psychological mark for Indian investors or for Indian market and economy. So according to me, that's the major reason, because if oil price has to go up again $120, then this will have a major risk for the markets.
But Mr. Choklingam, what if oil does continue to spike? What's the worst case scenario that we're looking at here? We've also got the Jackson Hole meet coming up, so a whole lot of moving factors.
See, this is what I've been saying for last 10 years quite aggressively, that a mild recession worldwide is too good for India. People would be surprised to know my hypothesis, but it is amply proven to be right, since Lehman crisis. What I mean is that today, again, oil at $100, you are spending more than $120 billion for import of oil. On the other hand, export growth has stagnated in the recent month. Trade deficit is widening and forex reserves are dwindling. So in this scenario, like 2008-9, like in 2016, again in 2020, 3 times oil price crashed and rescued the Indian economy. So the reason for being bullish is that the oil price has to eventually fall because there is a fear of recession in US, Europe. Chinese growth has slowed down terribly. So ultimately, my firm view is that oil should fall. Risk is also the same in case the oil doesn't fall and goes up beyond $120. That will be a major risk. But according to me, that is not a risk. The major risk to the market comes from only single factor in my view. I am of the firm view that if US Fed cuts down the balance sheet drastically, then again the rupee will start depreciating substantially. Then the FIS would stay away or even start selling once again. It's very surprising. The FIS had mentioned that, the US Fed had proposed to cut down the balance sheet by $47.5 billion starting from June month. Every month, $47.5 billion. Starting from September, they wanted to cut it down by $95 billion. But if you look at the actual balance sheet as of last week, there is no reduction in the balance sheet size at all. So that is surprising. So in case US Fed again goes back and starts executing severe reduction in the balance sheet, then the rupee will fall badly.
When will India, this is my first question, sir, when will India have a robust data privacy law that we can be proud for? And I want to tell my audience, just a little while ago, IRCTC, which is a company under his supervision, has withdrawn a tender for monetization of user data. Sir.
So the data protection bill, that's in works, and I think we should be seeing the results very soon. If you see the journey of this bill, when the Joint Parliamentary Committee suggested a series of amendments in a bill of 99 sections, there were 81 amendments suggested. Then there were about 17 major recommendations on top of it. So we had no choice but to redraft it. Redrafting is practically done, and Honorable Prime Minister has said that even though there is a very long series of consultations which have gone, still we must thoroughly consult with the people, with all the stakeholders. So very soon we will be uploading the revised draft, which will be meeting your expectations and meeting that from entire country. There is an expectation that the bill should be very neatly drafted. It should be easy to understand. It should be relevant with the times. It should create that online environment where trust and safety of the users gets the primacy.
If trust and safety of users has to have primacy, what about all the data that has been lost so far? And we keep hearing about incidents. What would you say are the touchstones that this proposed law will have?
So, three fundamental things. First and foremost is the users have a right on their data, right? So how that data is used, what is the consent mechanism which is there, that's the first and foremost. Second is the established principles of, let's say, purpose limitation, the other things which have got so well established all across the globe, those should be very much ingrained within the bill. And third, most important thing is, how do we make sure that every person in this country, every citizen of this country is able to access the grievance redressal mechanism in a very simple and very highly accessible way. So the entire implementation should be born digital. It should be born digital. We are not only looking at the revamping the data sector, we are also looking at revamping the other sectors which basically support the data economy.
A 5G Bharat, it is reality. You have yourself announced October. How will India benefit from 5G 5-10 years down the line? Not immediately, because it's going to be a creamy layer proposition, perhaps in the initial few days, although Mr. Mittal will try and Mr. Ambani will try and do their best to make it a mass proposition. How will the average Indian benefit?
First of all, it will be a mass proposition. Not only the two private sector telecom service providers, but BSNL will also roll out its 5G in the coming 18 to 24 months, for sure, right? That's first. Second is, the big difference that 5G will bring, it will be in two sectors, education and health. The entire education sector, which today considers digital as somewhat connected and somewhat like, okay, this is the central piece is education. Now there is something digital I can build around it. Built around it. Same thing will happen in the healthcare sector. These two sectors are going to make a very big difference in the lives of 130 crore Indians, and especially the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, who are at the most remotest parts, at the margins of the society, the people who are from our political thought process point of view, who are the most important people for whom we exist.
Many of the telecom pioneers, the private sector pioneers in India started off with manufacturing. Bharti with phones, Mr. Mittal also did gensets, others did phones and a lot of equipment. Ericsson still does a lot of equipment out of India. What's the goal for Atmanirbharta in telecom? Obviously, the security reasons are understood by everyone, the China factor. What is your own sense about how Atmanirbhar will India be when it comes to electronics, IT and telecom sector?
Very, very important question. I'm glad that you asked it. 2014. If you look at that period, we had hardly any electronics manufacturing. Forget telecom equipment, forget cell phones. It was not even thinkable. People were not even considering that India will ever become a player. What is the electronics manufacturing today? Close to 80 billion US. Close to 80 billion US. What is the number of people employed in the electronics manufacturing sector? Close to 2.5 million people employed in electronics manufacturing. What is the rate of growth of this industry, electronics manufacturing in India? Double-digit CAGR, and we think that in next 4 years, 5 years, this will become a 250 billion. Industry thinks that this might actually exceed 300 billion. It might actually exceed 1 crore employment in the coming 4 to 5 years. That is the growth story, and we should not just stop at that. We are now tweaking our policies to have more and more IP getting into those products. Not just manufacturing, but design also. We lost out the race in 2G and 3G because of various reasons, and mostly the political will was not there. 4G, we caught up. 5G, we should be able to stand up with the world. But 6G, Prime Minister has given us the clear mandate. We should become the leaders in the world.
I want to start by asking you about the here and the now, which is about 5G. Everyone watching you on all of our platforms of Business Today and India Today would be keen on knowing if 5G hamara kab aa raha hai? When does my phone go from the current 4G service that it has to a 5G? How soon do we start? And what does this mean to everyone who's listening to you at this moment?
Well, I think 5G is now, as we all know, around the corner. We are in almost full readiness, I would say. And if you really look at the world, 5G has now started to take roots, real roots in most of the Western world, Southeast Asian countries. Singapore, in fact, was the last one to go and start its 5G. So I think some people think India is late. India is not late. In fact, it's the perfect timing. Some use cases are being developed. You can see devices coming through, prices of devices started to fall down, which perfectly suits a country like India. So I think we are ready. Thankfully, this time, the government put up a lot of spectrum because 5G requires very large chunks of spectrum to be effective. Otherwise, you don't really get the true joy of 5G. And not only the mid band, which is the C band, came through, the millimeter wave also was put out. So all in all, I think India is now ready from the spectrum point of view. Equipment is now pretty standard and available. We have been building for this day for the last 24 months. I had predicted that we will launch sometime in the second half of 22. Some of the competitors felt it could probably come in 20 end or 21, but I knew that this takes time to really develop into an ecosystem. So we are ready. Expect, as the minister said, launches beginning from October. It could even be from very early in October, but sometime in October, you will start to see on your phones, if they are enabled for 5G, a 5G icon coming on your phones. We'll start with big cities, the key towns, and then keep on, as we have seen in the earlier 4G or 3G avatar, keep on then proliferating right across the country and going into the deep hinterland. What will it do to us? I mean, today I travel around the globe. Am I, as a mobile customer, really looking for 5G? The answer is no. But there are very important use cases which are developing around the globe, which to my mind are game changers for our country. Robotic surgeries, deep healthcare management in rural areas, distributing our centers of excellence. Don't build a mega facility in Mysore by Infosys because scale is not important anymore. You can have 100 centers distributed in the country so that the employees can be working very close to where they are and get the same experience they would have got when they were in Mysore. Holograms, virtual rooms, virtual teaching, experiments, participative experiments, everything can be done through a distributed way because of 5G. Now, in simple terms, what is 5G? For everyone to understand, as we moved from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, in simple terms, it meant you could put in much more throughput capacity, so you could have very large amounts of files going through it, and importantly, data will be on steroids. So every time you go to the next technology, you are adding more steroids. So in 5G, you will have 10, 15, maybe even 20x speeds that you experience in 4G. And you can put a ton of capacity because the spectrum chunks are very large. But two important factors that come along with 5G is something that we as industry has been waiting for a long time. I can now slice and dice. If you are a particular customer of a particular need, I can give you a different speed, and everybody sitting in this room can get a different speed. Now, this was not a capability we ever had. So imagine a packet of data being delivered to Spotify to listen to music versus an autonomous bus driving school children. And on an intersection of a crossing, you have some emergency. How do you ensure that the packet that has to be delivered to the autonomous bus reaches there in milliseconds, as opposed to somebody taking and hogging away the bandwidth for a Spotify music? Now that can be done in 5G. The second part is latency. Latency means the speed at which you can respond to the needs. If a robotic surgery is being done and the patient, while being dissected or being worked upon, has a bleed. Now, if it is a remote surgery and you can't respond, the surgeon can't respond in good time, you're going to lose the patient. In this case, the latency is so low, less than 10 milliseconds, that you are virtually sitting next to him. So these are the two very important parts.
Do you have pricing plans in mind yet. I'm sure you do. Could you share them with us from a customer perspective? How much more do I need to pay for my 5G service versus my 4G service?
Well, for the industrial use cases, I think pricing will not be so relevant. It will be really solution-oriented, and you will price it for solutions. People will take on industrial level, enterprise level, and those programs are very different. If your question is, what will it mean for you as a customer or everybody else here? I think not a meaningful change. You will consume more data, therefore you'll end up paying a little bit more. And frankly, if India has to be a digital nation, you need healthy telecom companies. They are the backbone, the spine of the digital connectivity. And the current tariffs, and I've said this many times before, are still very, very low. For $2.50, when I tell around the globe that you can take 60 gigabytes of data a month, they're absolutely horrified and shocked that how can you even survive in that atmosphere? We do, as you know. But do we need to go to $40, $50 like the Western world? No. Maybe we need to get to $3, $4. And if 5G can do that, it will only make the industry more sustainable, be allowed to sort of put more money into innovation and investment, get more use cases faster, and I think there'll be a very small cost to pay. Distributed costs for over 1 billion people, paying $1, $1.50 at the upper end.
Geeta, this seems to be that there is possibly an attempt, would you say, to provoke China further with this call to, in fact, invite the Dalai Lama to Taiwan?
Well, it certainly will not go down well with Beijing, Paulomi. And what the representative of the Dalai Lama here in Taiwan said to me was that they've already engaged the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs and have asked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to look into the requests. A representation has been made with the requests that were put to his office, and are engaging the Foreign Office to ensure that the Lama's visit takes place sooner than later. They are also looking at a time frame because we know that the Dalai Lama is aging and cannot travel a lot. So yes, it is going to be a huge provocation should the Dalai Lama visit in the coming future to Taiwan, because now the dynamics with regards to Tibet and Taiwan have really changed for China. I'm here right at the Hsinchu Air Base, a very important air base for Taiwan, Paulomi, and it just seems like the Chinese aggression in terms of the military operations, the transgressions into their airspace continues, and that's why we're seeing through the day over here fighter jets doing the sorties and coming back. So that's the scenario right now when Nancy Pelosi visited. Imagine if the Dalai Lama visits Taiwan, what will become of the situation over here? Certainly, there's some confidence now within the community over here, followers of Buddhism as also the Tibetan office, that Pelosi's visit did invite a lot of aggression in terms of these transgressions that you see, but not in terms of real action. So China also in many ways right now cannot afford a war or a real conflict. And is the reason why now they're looking at engaging the Foreign Office to have an invitation go to Dharamshala for a visit by the Dalai Lama.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Taiwan readies for battle. Braces itself to face Chinese hackers. Can China deter this empowered Taiwan? Geeta Mohan from Ground Zero, Taiwan.
We're here right outside the Hsinchu Air Base, a critical air base for Taiwan.
If China is to attack, that would be one of the first targets that China would be looking at.
Watch World Today, Taiwan exclusive. Only on India Today at these times.
India at 75, but we want to achieve global leadership in the next 25 years. What do you think will be the shape, color, size of India's aviation industry in 25 years? Because every developed economy in the world has a powerful, massive civil aviation infrastructure attached to it.
Let me delve a little bit in the recent past before we talk about our present and before our future. In 2013-14, we had 74 airports in our country. Today, in a span of 8 years, we have built out an additional 67 airports, water ports and heliports. So we've gone from a number of 74 to 141. We have almost doubled our number of airports, water ports and heliports in India. If you look at fleet size, in 2013-14, we had roughly about 400 aircraft in India. Today, we are inching close to the 700 number. I believe we are somewhere between 692 to 694. We're going to add capacity at the rate of close to 15% per annum, which means you're soon going to see a fleet in India close to 1,200 to 1,500 planes. Capacity expansion as far as airports are concerned, in the next 5 years, we are looking at a capex plan of close to 97,000 crores purely on airports. That covers the state-owned Airports Authority of India, which has a very aggressive brownfield as well as greenfield program. Close to about 42 airports on the brownfield side are being upgraded in new terminals. Capex of almost close to about 30,000 crores odd. We are building out 3 new greenfield projects. Holongi, Dholohera, Hirasar, another 3,500 crores. And equivalently on the private sector side, brownfield, again, expanding 7 current airports, close to about 34,000 crores, and building out an additional 4 new greenfield projects, close to about 31,000 crores. So that is the thrust. Now, why is that happening is going to be Siddharth's next question. And the reason why that's happening is really simple. You have a country of 1.3 billion people. But pre-pandemic, we had only 144 million flyers in India. If you look at the railways, which is, I believe, our closest competitor, only in the region, and I'm taking a segment of the railways. I'm not taking the whole transportation system of the railways because I'm looking at an apples to apples comparison. If you look at only the air-conditioned part of railways, so only first AC and only second AC. So first AC and second AC, pre-pandemic, we had close to about 185 million travelers. So the delta between civil aviation and railways is roughly about 40 million travelers per year. However, the important point here is if you look at the CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, the CAGR for railways is close to about 5.6%, whereas the CAGR for civil aviation is close to 10.3%. So therefore, it's my prediction that in the years to come, it may take us another 5 years, 7 years, but in the years to come, you're actually going to look at the number of travelers in civil aviation becoming pretty much the bulwark of air-conditioned travel in India as a means of transportation. Pre-pandemic, we had, as I mentioned, 144 million domestic travelers and 60 million international travelers. What's my forecast? My forecast is in the next 5 to 7 years, that number of 200 million is going to grow to 400 million travelers. That's the kind of delta and growth that you're going to see in the civil aviation business.
At the Business Today India at 100 Economy Summit, I'm delighted to welcome the Minister for Human Resource Development, one of the most important portfolios in any government, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Rahulji.
I want to start with the here and the now. On account of the pandemic, many school-going children have been impacted and pushed back in their formative years on very critical learning outcomes. All the data seems to be suggesting that. As Minister for Education, what are you doing here and now to ensure that you can catch up on these lost years so that we lay a foundation for the next 25 years?
Rahulji, this is a very pertinent question we are facing in the present time. Due to COVID, due to pandemic, almost all 2 academic sessions, there is a severe learning loss. School were closed, the online facility were not in all part of country. This is a reality. We have to accept that. Education being a concurrent subject, respective state governments and union government, both are facing very severe kind of challenge in this area. Main challenge how to, already this year the class has been started, it is on the normal coursework, but the last 2 years, in all the classes there is a learning loss. 2-3 innovative model I could mention in front of you. Reducing the syllabus, creating a new pedagogy, creating some extra classes, adding some extra classes, and altogether new approach to this learning loss area. State like Karnataka, state like UP, state like Assam, and board like CBSE. They are bound to do some reform in compulsion, like they could not organize examination in last 2 years, the board examination. This is a loss. How do we recover that? I cannot, very candidly, I cannot say this much time will be needed, because in the early stage, those who joined in the class 1, they directly go to regular class in class 3. They lost the experience of school 2 years. So this is a unique challenge, but the way post-pandemic, when the class started, since last few months we are observing their performance. I think with some specific innovative strategy by all the states, every state have developed their own way of recovery on their area. I think we have to put best of our effort. I hope some improvement will be there.
With every sunrise comes new beginnings, new opportunities and new stories. And that's why we're first up. While you're sleeping, we're hard at work to ensure you get the perfect news shot every morning. Get you all the updates. Our morning mission to get you news that's fresh and packed with flavor. Watch First Up every weekday morning with me, Akshata Nandagopal, right here on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Taiwan readies for battle. Braces itself to face Chinese hackers. Can China deter this empowered Taiwan? Geeta Mohan from Ground Zero, Taiwan.
We're here right outside the Hsinchu airbase, a critical airbase for Taiwan. If China is to attack, that would be one of the first targets that China would be looking at.
Watch World Today Taiwan exclusive only on India Today at these times.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Pooja Shali. Let's begin first with the headlines. Another Congress veteran, Prithviraj Chavan, now echoes Ghulam Nabi Azad, asks if the party is like a Mughal empire for Gandhis. Congress comes out to discredit Azad, brands him an opportunist this time.
Definitely, to all organs of the Congress party, elections had not been held for 24 years. That's why when it comes, we have given him so much, we have given. Are we running in a Mughal empire or what?
Trouble mounts for the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. Lieutenant Governor flagging irregularities in the construction of classrooms in Delhi government schools. Says the construction cost was enhanced and no tender was issued. Supreme Court sends freebies case to a 3-judge bench for a review. Issue of the Election Commission directions and the scope of judicial review to be examined in detail. Karnataka High Court allows Ganesh Chaturthi celebration at Bengaluru's Eidgah Maidan, the grounds at the center of a polarizing political war. Stunning CCTV video of Sonali Phogat hours before her death. The Bharatiya Janata Party and the TV actor seen struggling to walk. With the support of this man, she is able to walk out of the nightclub. Goa police says she was allegedly drugged forcefully. Days after Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi left India for the Congress president's medical treatment, party loyalist Ghulam Nabi Azad has resigned from the party. In an almost 5-page long resignation, Azad directly attacks Rahul Gandhi for the mess that the grand old party is in, calling the Congress Member of Parliament childish and immature, accusing him of surrounding himself with sycophants. Ghulam Nabi Azad has dropped several truth bombs. Here's what he said.
Former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, a prominent member of the G23 rebel group, one of the tallest veterans of the grand old party, Ghulam Nabi Azad has worked with 3 generations of the Gandhi family. On Friday, Azad dumped the Congress, dropping a 5-page resignation bombshell on party president Sonia Gandhi. He resigned from all posts, including primary membership of the Congress. Training his big guns on the party leadership, Azad attacked Rahul Gandhi personally, citing the sidelining of senior leaders and the increasing sway of his chamchas and coteries of inexperienced sycophants as the reason behind his exit. Ghulam Nabi Azad lashed out at Rahul Gandhi, blaming his immaturity for the Congress's dwindling political clout and poor performance in election after election. The angry leader tore into Rahul Gandhi, claiming that all key decisions in the party were being taken by his security guards and personal assistants. Attacking Sonia Gandhi, he claimed that her remote control model had destroyed the UPA and now the Congress. Speaking exclusively to India Today first, Ghulam Nabi Azad claimed that he will start his own political outfit and rubbished claims that he was about to join the BJP.
देखो जम्मू कश्मीर में तो मेरा यूनिट बनेगा, that is निश्चित। बाकी नेशनल लेवल पे देखेंगे।
बीजेपी में जाने की बात हो रही है तो वो क्या सही है या गलत है?
वो तो हमारे एडवर्सरीज 3 साल से बता रहे हैं। हमारे एडवर्सरीज ने तो हमको प्रेसिडेंट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट भी बना दिया था।
The Congress claims Azad's resignation was unfortunate and that it came at a time when the party was fighting the BJP against crucial issues with the Bharat Jodo Yatra. In his letter, Azad said what was really needed was a Congress Jodo Yatra instead.
It is most unfortunate and most regrettable that this has happened. The entire Congress party organization across the country is engaged in confronting, combating, fighting the BJP.
Ghulam Nabi Azad is the 7th big leader to quit the Congress party this year alone. His exit, while sudden, was not entirely unexpected.
The fact that a youngster like me complained about the sycophant Darbari culture, and now a senior seasoned leader who has given his blood and sweat to the party is speaking about it becoming a club of PAs and security guards shows that leaders across age groups are disappointed, frustrated by this entire coterie culture which is thriving in the Indian National Congress.
The big exits from the Congress come at a time when the Gandhis, all three of them, are abroad and when uncertainty and suspense looms over who will lead the party heading into another election cycle. With Mosmi Singh and Supriya Bharadwaj in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Stung by Ghulam Nabi Azad's resignation, the Congress came out all guns blazing against him. From branding him as an opportunist to being called Modi-fied, Azad was under attack through the day from the current Congress netas who have pledged allegiance to Rahul Gandhi.
Rahul Gandhi is childish and immature. Rahul is to blame for 2014 poll loss. Rahul Gandhi created a coterie of inexperienced sycophants. It is as scathing as it gets. Ghulam Nabi Azad didn't hold back as he lashed out at Rahul Gandhi, named and shamed him in his 4-page resignation letter. Azad has been one of the senior-most leaders of the Congress with a decade-long association with the Gandhis. So when he resigns, one would expect alarm bells to ring within the Congress. What's happened, however, is quite the opposite. Congress leaders rushed to Rahul Gandhi's defense and even replugged this old video of Rahul in response to Azad.
और बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो डर नहीं रहे कांग्रेस के बाहर हैं, वो सब हमारे हैं, उनको अंदर लाओ, और जो हमारे यहाँ डर रहे हैं उनको बाहर निकालो, चलो भैया जाओ, आरएसएस के हो जाओ, भागो, मजे लो.
Loyalists of the Gandhi family remained in denial over the red flags raised by Ghulam Nabi Azad, with veteran leaders too dismissing his claims.
संजय गांधी साथ थे, वो चापलूस ही माने जाते थे, साइकोफेंट माने जाते थे उस वक्त में, पर संजय गांधी ने परवाह नहीं करी, तब जाके आजाद साहब इतने बड़े नेता बने. जैसी उम्मीदें राहुल गांधी से कर रहे हैं, तो आज इस देश के अंदर गुलाम नबी आजाद का नाम या जो बाकी नेता जो भी हैं, उनका नाम देश में कोई नहीं जानता.
Some Congress leaders even alleged a BJP hand in Ghulam Nabi Azad's resignation, questioning if the veteran leader would now join the Saffron Party.
These kind of attacks come at the time when we are fighting against the misrule of Modi and Amit Shah, and when democracy is at its crossroads and we are fighting in the street. But Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, like senior people, writing these letters The same words of RSS and BJP has been replicated there.
जो व्यक्ति आज इस मौके पर धोखा देता है पार्टी को, वो उस आदमी का रिमोट कंट्रोल नरेंद्र मोदी के हाथ में है। और नरेंद्र मोदी जी और गुलाम नबी आजाद जी के प्रेम तो हमने खुद देखा, संसद में भी देखा, और वो प्रेम की परिणति आज हुई है।
Ghulam Nabi Azad's resignation has rocked the Congress, but with senior leaders choosing to blindly back Rahul Gandhi, can there be any hope of introspection within the grand old party? Bureau Report, India Today.
Big news now coming in. Another big disclosure in Sonali Phogat's death mystery that is deepening. Goa police sources are now telling India Today television that the accused gave Sonali Phogat 1.5 grams of MDMA, which is a narcotic substance. The party drug was allegedly mixed with water in a bottle and she was forced to drink it. So it appears there was a spiked drink that she was forced to drink. A chemical investigation will now also be done. So a tragic death mystery, but now with this drug angle coming in that the main accused and two, remember, have been arrested, the PA and his close aide, that they gave Sonali Phogat 1.5 grams of the MDMA, a narcotic substance. Now the party drug was allegedly mixed with water in a bottle and she was forced to drink it. Now a chemical investigation will also be done in this case. The murder mystery of Sonali Phogat is only deepening. The Goa police has now confirmed that the social media sensation and television actor, also BJP Neta, that she was drugged forcefully. They have now named her PA, Sudhir Sangwan, as the main murder accused. In a CCTV footage that has been now accessed by India Today as well, and that just hours before Sonali Phogat's death, Sangwan is seen taking Sonali Phogat away as she clearly struggles to even walk. The video is of a popular Goa shack, but what happened after that CCTV footage?
A visibly unwell Sonali Phogat being taken out of the Curly's shack in Goa's famous Anjuna beach. This CCTV video taken at 4:27 AM on the 23rd of August has added a stunning new twist to her death mystery. Sonali can be seen struggling to walk as she is supported by Sudhir Sangwan, her personal assistant, and the main accused in the murder case that has been filed. The BJP leader and social media sensation died hours after an alleged drug-fueled revelry party. The Goa police claims they are in possession of videos that show Sonali allegedly being forced to consume drugs by her associates.
और एक वीडियो से जाहिर होता है कि उसको एक सब्सटेंस फोर्सफुली विक्टिम को वन ऑफ द एक्यूज पिला रहा है.
The police claim Sonali appeared to be unwell after taking the alleged drugs.
करीब 4:30 बजे जब वो अपने आप को संभालने में नाकाम रही तो मुलजिम विक्टिम को बाथरूम टॉयलेट की तरफ लेके जाता है और फिर वहां करीब 2 घंटे वो रहते हैं टॉयलेट में, जिसका एक्सप्लेनेशन अभी तक एक्यूज ने नहीं दिया है.
The police have already registered a murder case and are grilling two suspects, Sonali's personal assistant Sudhir Sangwan and his friend Sukhwinder Wasi. The new revelations about drugs have changed the course of this investigation. The autopsy had earlier pointed to blunt force injuries on Sonali's body. The celebrity's family has been claiming she was murdered.
हम बार-बार इसी चीज़ को रिपीट कर रहे थे कि हमारी FIR दर्ज की जाए और हमारी रिटन कंप्लेंट में यही था कि उनको कुछ खिला पिला के या जिस तरह जैसे भी उनका मर्डर किया गया है. तो अब पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में चीज़ें सामने आ रही हैं. गोवा पुलिस प्रशासन अब कोऑपरेट करने लगा है.
Sonali's death has sparked a political firestorm. The opposition in Goa is alleging an attempt to cover up.
That the chief minister likes to give clean cheat and likes to jump the gun. And all this is giving Goa a bad name.
Sonali Phogat's body reached Hisar in Haryana on Friday, where she was cremated.
Well, as the amber fires embrace Sonali Phogat's mortal remains, a TikTok sensation and a BJP leader loved by many, leaves this earth with many questions unanswered. Some of them will find their answers in the investigation that the Goa police is doing. 2 arrests have been made, but the family grieves and is still undecided on whether the investigation should be carried forward with a CBI probe.
With a drug angle coming to light now, the police are looking at all possible angles, including murder. With Arvind Ojha in Delhi, Pankaj Upadhyay in Goa and Milan Sharma in Hisar, Bureau Report, India Today.
Sonali Phogat was a well-known television actor in Haryana. She was a TV reality show contestant as well. Then she joined the Bharatiya Janata Party, even fought an election. Her husband, incidentally, also died under mysterious circumstances, and the police are now likely to widen the scope of their investigation. Their daughter now wants an investigation to reveal the truth behind the death, first of her father and now her mother as well. Arvind Ojha with this report.
The one and only OG card dewe tere nakhare janab fitting aale sutta ne tu pana chhod de attitude beauty mein lagawe char chand bur ke nu chhorya na lakhana chhod de.
A celeb in Haryana.
OG card dewe tere nakhare janab fitting aale sutta ne tu pana chhod de.
आप बीच में ना बोले तो अच्छा रहेगा और आप ना बोले बहुत.
A big boss contestant.
क्यों तोड़ा आपने? मेरे को बोलेंगे आप? तुझे नहीं बोला. सोनाली फोगाट is beat.
And a BJP leader. Sonali Phogat was a go-getter from an early age. She always aspired to be an actress. Got her first break as an anchor for a program on Doordarshan. While working for Doordarshan, Phogat joined the BJP in 2008. This opened many avenues for the actor. Phogat went on to work with big names of regional cinema, including Ravi Kishan and Jimmy Shergill. She also got a chance to feature in the 14th edition of Big Boss.
आपकी बच्ची को बीच में नहीं घसीटा, बल्कि आपने किसी की बच्ची, वो है रुबीना, उसको आपने कहा. आपने ये शो देखा है? आपको पता है कि इस घर के अंदर क्या-क्या टास्क होते हैं, किस हद तक लोग जाते हैं?
सलमान जी, मैं यहाँ ये नहीं करने आई हूँ जो मुझे गालियाँ दे, मैं उसके आगे काम करती घूमूं.
Sonali featured in a number of music videos and had a sizable following on TikTok. Sonali married Sanjay Phogat, who too was a politician. The two had a daughter. But the marriage ended on a tragic note. After just a few years, her husband died under mysterious circumstances in 2016. Sonali then focused her efforts on work. In 2019, seeing her growing popularity, the BJP gave her a chance to prove her mettle. Sonali Phogat was given the ticket from Hisar's Adampur seat against then Congress leader Kuldeep Bishnoi. Sonali, however, lost the election by a big margin. Controversial in life, her death too is not devoid of controversy. Her family suspects foul play in her sudden death in Goa. Her daughter, now a 15-year-old, is demanding justice for her mother.
Justice मिलना चाहिए, investigation होनी चाहिए proper, और जो culprit है उन्हें punishment मिलनी चाहिए.
The death of Sonali Phogat has opened a Pandora's box, leaving many questions unanswered. Bureau Report, India Today.
Time for a quick commercial break, but when I return, a woman narrowly escaping death after her bike topples over a deadly pothole in Bengaluru. We get you the details on the other side.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events. The true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be
From those who matter,
women politicians going to stick up for each other.
of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
The pothole menace has disrupted lives as we now have known it in Bengaluru. According to reports, in the last 1 year, Bengaluru witnessed 9 deaths due to the unsafe road conditions. Now a video exposing once again how unsafe the roads of Bengaluru city have become. Here's a ground report.
No end to civic apathy in Bengaluru. A woman biker narrowly escaping death after her scooter toppled while trying to avoid a deadly pothole in Bengaluru's Kasturi Nagar flyover. Luckily, she suffered only minor injuries. She could very easily have been run over. The accident captured on a dash cam by a person driving right behind her. The commuter who witnessed the entire incident stated that he rushed to help the woman after she fell down on the road.
It was on a weekday. I was going to office. I saw a lady, suddenly skidding in front of me and then falling. And I was able to put brake in time, and I then rushed and checked upon her. She was her hands and legs were moving, so she had some minor bruises. I would not say minor, maybe a good amount of bruises.
The incident comes just days after a 44-year-old died after falling from his bike in Bengaluru on August the 18th. Supreet Raj was going to his office in Harohalli when he fell from his bike while negotiating a pothole on the Sunka Dakate road. He suffered head injuries despite wearing a helmet. The victim's family claimed the accident occurred because of the pothole.
ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅವರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಳ್ಳ ತಪ್ಪಿಸಕ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಬಿದ್ದೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಸರ್. ಬಿದ್ದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆಂಬುಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವೇ ಎತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾವ.
ಹೆಂಗಿತ್ತು ಇಂಜುರೀಸ್ ಹೆಂಗಿತ್ತು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ? ಹೆಂಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಏಟ್ ಬಿದ್ದಿತ್ತು?
ಕಿವಿಲಿ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಂಬುಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು. ಆಂಬುಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೊಲೀಸರೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ಕಳಿಸ್ರು ಆಂಬುಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ.
ಇವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ ತರ ಪಾಟೋಲ್ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಗುಂಡಿ ಇದೆ?
ಒಂದು 2 ವರ್ಷ 3 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ ತರ ಆಗಿದೆ.
Potholes and poor roads have taken several lives in Bengaluru, a city that's still grappling with decrepit road infrastructure. Around 6 road accidents related to potholes have occurred this year alone. At least 13 people have died due to potholes in the last 5 years. The Karnataka High Court had even hauled up the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara officials for the delay in filling up and fixing these potholes. Despite the court's stern warning, the Bengaluru civic body appears to have failed miserably in doing its duty. As the state goes into election mode, will potholes and dying infrastructure become issue number 1 for Bengalurians? Till then, the IT city, the Silicon hub of India, continues to trip and die on potholes. With Sagai Raj in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
I'm wrapping up this bulletin for now. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. You can always log on to indiatoday.in for all the latest. Thank you.
With the aim to disinvest its stake in IDBI in FY23, the government is working on a war footing. According to sources, the expression of interest is likely in September. The centre and LIC may dilute close to 65% stake in IDBI if the RBI permits. Karishma Sudani joins us with more on this. Karishma, what's the progress of the disinvestment plan?
Well, the progress is, Abha, that government is expecting a green signal from the inter-ministerial group, that is the IMG, which is currently, in fact, been holding meetings on IDBI. Today was also the day that a meeting was held. Post this, it goes to the core group of disinvestment and, of course, to the major ministerial panel, which will actually clear the disinvestment before government launches the process of expression of interest. Now, we're being told that currently the drafting for expression of interest is going on, but meanwhile, government has received a green signal from RBI on the kind of requests it has put. In fact, RBI, under its emergency provisions, has granted IDBI certain relaxations on consortium participation and has made certain relaxations on the fit and proper criteria that could push off the disinvestment process. Meanwhile, we're also being told that government sees no major concerns when it comes to the process and is hoping that by third week of September, they'll be able to launch and float the EOI. Meanwhile, government and LIC, which hold almost close to 93% share, could dilute around 65% of their stake in IDBI in one go.
Taiwan readies for battle. Braces itself to face Chinese hackers. Can China deter this empowered Taiwan? Geeta Mohan from Ground Zero, Taiwan.
We're here right outside the Hsinchu airbase, a critical airbase for Taiwan. If China is to attack, that would be one of the first targets that China would be looking at.
Watch World Today, Taiwan exclusive. Only on India Today at these times.
Hello, welcome. You're watching In the Club. I'm Dipali Patel. This is where we get you the best from the world of entertainment. Now, Vijay Deverakonda, who has been in the showbiz for over a decade now, has made a space for himself in Bollywood with Dharma Productions' Liger. He has reportedly charged a whopping signing amount for this project. Here's everything you need to know about India's most eligible bachelor, the one who could be the next pan-Indian superstar in the making. Tall, dark and handsome. Yes, Vijay Deverakonda is this and everything that's enough to sweep anyone, in fact everyone. Perhaps why he's currently the national crush, with fans, especially women, swooning over him, making him India's most eligible bachelor. Telugu actor who once sparked conversation around misogyny with his film Arjun Reddy has now made a space for himself in Bollywood with Dharma Productions' Liger. for which he reportedly has even charged a whopping rupees 20 to 25 crore, a signing amount beyond one's imagination when he started off his cinematic journey almost over a decade ago.
Getting work was one fight, and once you got work, to get acknowledgement, to get I also feel like nothing in life is equal. We are all not born the same way. We are not born to the same financial status. हम सब एक ही height पे, we are not of the same height, same look, same physical abilities. सब अलग होता है. हमको जो चाहिए हमको fight करना है और वो जीतना है.
మీరేం చేస్తుంటారు? జాబ్.
చచ్చా జాబ్ లాంటిది ఏం లేదు.
He played supporting roles before he became a hero in Tarun Bhaskar's Peli Chupulu in 2016.
They call it the street food revolution. Interesting. No, Richard, it's quite good.
And slowly found his standing in the Telugu film industry with movies such as Geeta Govindam, Nota, World Famous Lover and Dear Comrade. Reports suggest that up until Liger came his way, Vijay Deverakonda was charging around 6 to 7 crore per film, and now his net worth stands at around rupees 39 crore in 2022. Vijay Deverakonda hails from a middle-class family. He also revealed that his younger brother Anand Deverakonda had to take care of the family by working in the US when he decided to become an actor. After he made it big in the industry, Vijay was able to buy his own house. In fact, in 2019, Vijay moved into a plush house in Jubilee Hills, one of the poshest locations in Hyderabad. Reportedly, the actor shelled out rupees 15 crore to build his dream home. What's more, his simplicity also reflects in the way he dresses up. And not many know, he even owns his own clothing line. With Liger, Vijay Deverakonda has come to the forefront in Bollywood and looks like is the next pan-Indian superstar in the making. In this sports drama, he performs some high-octane action sequences as a professional MMA fighter. He also has a speech impediment and often is seen channelizing his frustration in the ring. This Puri Jagannath directorial also marks Ananya Pandey's first film with Vijay Deverakonda and features international icon Mike Tyson.
I'm a fighter! If you're a fighter, what am I?
Entertainment Bureau, India Today. Vijay Deverakonda has made his Bollywood debut with Liger. The film, which also stars Ananya Pandey, is out in theatres. I had a brief chat with my colleague Tushar Joshi, who watched it on first day. Listen in. Vijay Deverakonda and Ananya Pandey star Liger is out in theatres. So two big questions. One, will this film be able to revive Bollywood? And two, is the Telugu actor the next pan-Indian superstar in the making? I want to cut across to our entertainment editor Tushar Joshi, who has seen the film and is joining me from Mumbai. Tushar, how do you see Liger as Vijay Deverakonda's Bollywood debut? I mean, he has been in the industry for over a decade now, but this is the first film that brings him to the forefront in Hindi cinema. How does he fare?
You know, Dipali, I have so many thoughts about Liger that I want to share, but I want to speak about the question you asked. I think that's a great point to start with. You know, in this current debate of North versus South, of good content versus bad content, of this whole notion of pan-India versus regional films, I'm struggling to understand and wonder when the script for Liger went to Vijay Deverakonda, And if you've seen Vijay's last few films, irrespective of their box office results, he's been a very wise man in terms of choosing what he thinks is right and what is wrong. What leaves me baffled and what leaves me confused is the sheer, what led him to choose this script. When the makers went to him, and the pitch must have been something like this. You stutter in the film, you play a boxer, you fall in love with a girl, you bash up some goons, and then you emerge as the winner. If that was the narration for Liger, and if that is what Vijay Deverakonda said yes to, then I'm not shocked at what the film has turned out to be and the results that we watched in theatres this Thursday.
All right, Tushar, Vijay Deverakonda, of course, has been shown as an MMA fighter in the film. Therefore, one also sees the physical transformation. But I want to talk to you about the fight sequences. How are they, and do they manage to keep you hooked?
After watching Liger, I don't think the director Puri Jagannath even bothered if that was something that he wanted to cater to the audience, if he was even bothered by the fact that action was a genre that he wanted to cater to. The film is just a hapless misconstruction of scene to scene. It definitely feels like he put the songs in the film first, and then he thought of creating scenes around it. My issue with the film is that the teasers and the promos and the trailer showed us this really, these tense action scenes. He's in the boxing ring, he's kicking this guy, he's looking really well chiseled, and people are hooting and cheering for him. But when you watch the film, the action is definitely not in the forefront. Even those scenes of the few matches that you get to see, where you get to see Vijay Deverakonda wear those boxers and play MMA, you're left wondered that, has Puri Jagannath watched any action films? Is he aware of the fact that the audience today is watching world cinema, is watching Hollywood cinema? Just having six-pack abs or just making a chiseled body does not make you an action star. I mean, the fact that you've asked me this question, I'm also wondering that the audience who's going to watch Liger, thinking that they will get to see, if not anything, Vijay Deverakonda bash up a bunch of guys in a boxing ring. Even that is not delivered. So the problem with the film, Dipali, is that a very right question that you've asked is that, does the film deliver as an action film? It fails on an epic scale to deliver even that.
All right, so Tushar, also, Liger is Ananya Pandey's first collaboration with Vijay Deverakonda. How do you find their chemistry, and do they create Afat on screen?
This reminds me of the multiple reels that people have made on Afat. Like any film promotion, these two actors met social media influencers, they met a lot of entertainment journalists, and they made these Afat reels. I like the song. When the song came out, it's a earworm, it's catchy, it's trippy. But given its presence in the film, and given the fact that every song in Liger is nothing but sheer annoyance, you don't really care about the fact that Vijay Deverakonda, a good-looking guy, Ananya Pandey, good-looking girl, are paired opposite together. They look decent on screen. There is no chemistry between these two people. He's supposed to be a fighter. He's supposed to stammer and stutter. He's going through a life crisis. She's supposed to be this rich rat kiddo, whatever her character definition must have been on paper. But when they come together on screen, the expressions that Ananya makes, the scenes that are between them are so flat, are so banal. Is you're wondering that, was there anything happening on set? Was the director giving them a cue? Was anybody looking in the monitors when these two actors were giving these expressions and talking to each other? It's a big question mark looming over my head as I walked out of the theatre. So to answer your question, there is no chemistry between these two.
Also, with this recent South and North debate picking up, I want to understand from you, where does Liger stand when it comes to term pan-India film? Does it emerge as one?
Liger's pitch line was that tu sala crossbreed hai. The whole trailer revolved around the fact that Liger, like the name, is a crossbreed between a tiger and a lion, is what we are made to believe in the film. But unfortunately, the film is not a crossbreed of a lion and a tiger, but is a crossbreed of everything that has gone wrong. It truly is a khichdi, a hop-notch of everything and anything that can go wrong in a mainstream film. Like you said, this term pan-India is being loosely used on debates and in conversations by filmmakers. It doesn't really matter if it's a pan-India film or a regional film. At the end of the day, what fails for Liger on the biggest scale is the fact that on paper, on script, in terms of what the storyline is, in terms of what they plan to offer to the viewers, the film has zilch that it can take to its audience. So even if it's a Telugu film and it's a director who's come from that area of filmmaking or that area of the country, and Puri Jagannath has delivered Coterie, which is actually it's a great film. It was even remade in Bollywood. So I'm shocked that if they were trying to cater to the pan-India masses, and if they were trying to make a film that crosses the barriers of language and actually caters to every possible person in the country, how did they not realize that their biggest fault is the fact that they have no script, they have no screenplay, they have no story. All they have done is try to create gimmick around its central character and sell it to the audience, saying, here it is, Vijay Deverakonda's first Bollywood offering. We are putting 2-3 songs. We have Ananya Pandey. Let's go watch our film.
Tushar, our viewers also want to know that what's the biggest letdown and the one thing that worked, and also if you could sum up your overall experience.
I am let down. I'm massively let down by Liger. Dipali, this whole term that I had a lot of expectations when I walked into the theatre. For anybody who's spending his $200-300 or $500 on a theatre on a Friday morning, wanting to watch a film, expectations will be high because you have OTT, you have streaming, you have really good cinema, and we are in testing times and trying times where the audience is outrightly rejecting anything that doesn't cater to their palate. There was scope. There is Ramya Krishnan, there is Vijay Deverakonda, 2 established actors. There is also a director who has delivered blockbuster films in the past. And you're now coming to an audience where Vijay Deverakonda perhaps initially hadn't reached out to. I mean, if you see Arjun Reddy, he is the original star of Arjun Reddy. And Kabir Singh was a huge hit for Shahid Kapoor. After Kabir Singh, a lot of people who hadn't watched Arjun Reddy have gone and discovered Vijay. And he's a great actor. He's a good actor. So the biggest letdown for me was this being Vijay's launch vehicle in Bollywood. So much of hoopla, Karan Johar backing this project. But him backing the project, and no writers, no screenplay, no script, the director not putting emphasis on that is the biggest letdown for Liger. And this for me is has been one of the worst films of the year in terms of its sheer experience. Vijay definitely deserved better. This cannot be the launch pad for him in Bollywood.
How many stars would you give to this film?
I don't think, giving a star to Liger will really matter, because at the end of the day, stars are basically given to tell the audience, tell our viewers who are watching the show how good or bad the film is. Liger is atrocity at its best. I'm giving it a 1.5 stars only for Vijay Deverakonda, because this boy has really put a lot of effort into this. You've met him, you've interviewed him, and you've known the kind of effort that he's put into Liger. It's a sheer disappointment, and I hope that I'm not predicting box office results for this review, but I hope that whatever happens this Monday, people realize that they need to go back to the writing table and put emphasis on the screenplay and script, not on the star presence and sheer star power.
Yes, of course, we'll have to wait for the box office numbers. That was our entertainment editor, Tushar Joshi, who's given his thoughts on the film and has given 1.5 stars out of 5 to Liger.
They call me Liger. कहते हैं बेटा मुझे तुझ में तो है फायर बहुत बड़ा काम करेगा ये.
It's time for a short break now, but there's lots more coming up on the other side, so stay tuned to In the Club.
The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the National Health Authority for providing a comprehensive medical package to transgender persons under the Ayushman Bharat PMJAY at the Dr. Ambedkar International Centre. This joint initiative is indeed the first of its kind in India and will not only give a new direction to our society, but will also provide transgender persons rightful and a respectable place in our country. This medical package will provide a health card where they can avail more than 50 health facilities. Benefits will all be free of cost. What's also groundbreaking here is that India becomes the first country to provide free of cost cosmetic surgery for transgenders. So now a person belonging to the transgender society from any state or any part of India will be able to take advantage of this card in any hospital affiliated with Ayushman Bharat. In fact, the ministry is also set to fund 5 lakh rupees as insurance cover per transgender beneficiary per annum. And now, to make identification a lot more easier, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is providing identity cards for transgenders if they register themselves at the central level. They're also going to get provisions of scholarship that's been made for them. Protection cells are also being set up and also skill development programs being done, all as part of this package.
John Abraham's first look from Pathan is out, while filmmaker S. Shankar is on a roll as he will be shooting for 2 films at the same time. This and much more, here's our popular segment, What's Trending. John Abraham's first look from Pathan is out. Shah Rukh Khan took to social media to share the same. He wrote, and we quote, "He's tough and plays it rough," presenting John Abraham in Pathan. Hashtag 5 months to Pathan. Earlier, the superstar had also dropped his first look from the film. It also coincided with 30 years of SRK in Bollywood, and he captioned it as 30 years and not counting, because your love and smiles have been infinite. Here's to continuing with Pathan. SRK also had shared Deepika's look from this Siddharth Anand directorial on his social media. That's not all, the action thriller will also feature Salman Khan in a special appearance. As far as his other projects are concerned, he has Atleast Jawan with Nayanthara in his kitty. In fact, he was recently spotted in Chennai with Deepika Padukone, who is likely to do a cameo in the film.
Wow, sir. कमाल है सर, मेरे लिए भी कुछ ऐसा है क्या?
सर, एक है स्क्रिप्ट मेरे पास।
Really? कॉमेडी है?
बहुत है।
इमोशन है?
वो भी है।
रोमांस है सर?
है सर, पर ये वाला एक्शन ना अवॉइड करिएगा।
ये अरे हाथ ही काट लूंगा मैं। गए सर, आप बोलो तो। नाम क्या है सर?
डंकी।
डोंकी?
डोंकी नहीं शाहरुख, डंकी।
मैं समझा डोंकी। डंकी डंकी। In an as.
The superstar will also be seen in Rajkumar Hirani's Donkey, the shoot of which had already begun, and several pictures of him from the sets with the filmmaker and his co-star Taapsee Pannu went viral on the internet.
सर जो तेरा चकराए या दिल डूबा जाए, आजा प्यारे पास हमारे, काहे घबराए, काहे घबराए।
The makers of Sunny Deol's upcoming film Chup Revenge of the Artist featuring Dulquer Salman have released the teaser of the film. In the clip, Dulquer can be seen singing Sar Jo Tera Chakrai song in the background. Directed by R. Balki, the psychological thriller, which also stars Pooja Bhatt and Shreya Dhanvantri, is special for reasons more than one, because it also marks Amitabh Bachchan's debut as music composer.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
गुरुदत्त के बर्थडे पे